Hi, it's Brendan from Crane Appliance. Since 1983, our goal as a family-owned company has been simple: to give our neighbors on the Cape and Islands a great shopping experience. Rest easy knowing our professional team will listen to your needs and help you pick the perfect appliances for your home. At Crane Appliance, we know how difficult appliance shopping can be. Our team is here for you. Crane Appliance. We call the Cape and Islands home.
Carlson Printing, 508-548-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing, for all your printing needs. John's Liquor Store, 729 Main Street, Falmouth, 508-548-2287.
2025. At this time, I will entertain a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Okay, and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. We have to do it.
By roll call.
Goldstone, aye.
Muscali, aye.
Brown, aye.
Reed, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, we will adjourn to executive session and return at 6:30. Okay, good evening. We have just returned from executive session, so I will now call to order the open session of the Falmouth Select Board for Monday, September 29th, 2025. It is now 6:32 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have two proclamations. I'm going to turn to Mr. Brown to read the first, which is for the Falmouth Parks Department Arbor Day.
Proclamation. Whereas the town of Falmouth benefits from the graceful canopy of tree limbs that shade us from the blazing summer sun, purify our air contaminants, provide a peaceful respite from the ordinary world, and generally beautify our community. And whereas the town has been recognized by a national program and is known far and wide as a tree city, and whereas the Falmouth Tree Warden and Falmouth Public Schools recognize the aesthetic value of the beautiful trees of Falmouth by organizing a day to celebrate the purity and strength exemplified by a statuesque tree and all living green things, and thereby honor the trees of Falmouth by sharing thoughts and teaching more about the value of our trees. And now, therefore, we, Robert P. Miscali, Heather M.H. Goldstone, Douglas C. Brown, Colin W. Reed, and Jack P. Richardson, as the Select Board of the Town of Falmouth, do hereby proclaim Friday, October 17th, as Arbor Day in Falmouth. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the great seal of the town of Falmouth to be affixed this day, Monday, September 29th, 2025.
Okay, very good. Okay, I will now ask Vice Chair Goldstone to read the proclamation with...
Do you want
What?
to hear it?
Did you want to say something? I'm sorry, Jeremiah, come on.
Good evening, Jeremiah Pearson, Tree Warden, Park Superintendent. I just want to let you know this year our belated Arbor Day is going to be at East Falmouth School. We're going to celebrate it with the second graders, and we're going to be planting orchard trees.
All right. Excellent.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, now I will turn to Vice Chair Goldstone to read the proclamation with respect to Indigenous Peoples' Day, October 12th, 2025.
Whereas the second Monday in October is celebrated as Indigenous Peoples' Day in the United States of America in recognition of the Indigenous people as this country's original inhabitants, and whereas Falmouth, Massachusetts recognizes Indigenous Peoples' Day as an important time to celebrate the rich cultural knowledge, traditions, and history, and to acknowledge the important contributions of Falmouth's original people, members of the Wampanoag tribe. Whereas Indigenous Peoples' Day is also an appropriate time to educate the general public about the severe challenges Indigenous people throughout North America, including Falmouth, have faced both historically and in the present, and the ways in which Indigenous people have worked to overcome these challenges. And whereas the land today known as Falmouth, Massachusetts, is located on the ancestral and contemporary lands of Indigenous people and home of the original people of Cape Cod since time immemorial, the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, the Herring Pond Wampanoag, and the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead Aquina, without whom the building of this country may not have been possible, and for whom Falmouth holds great historical, spiritual, and personal respect and gratitude for its original stewards. And whereas Indigenous Wampanoag people over the many generations have protected and preserved the landscape of Falmouth and Cape Cod based on their traditions, customs, and ancient Indigenous knowledge, rooted in their cultural belief systems that stipulates that they are protectors and stewards of the natural environment for the benefit of all. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Town of Falmouth Select Board affirms the second Monday of October, October 13th, 2025, as Indigenous Peoples' Day in Falmouth, that we honor and commit to promote appreciation, healing, reconciliation, understanding, friendship, and continued partnerships with the Indigenous people in Falmouth, Cape Cod, and Massachusetts, particularly the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, Herring Pond Wampanoag, and Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead Aquina. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the Great Seal of the Town of Falmouth to be affixed on this 29th day of September 2025.
Very good, thank you. Dr. Feynman Silver, do you have some comments for us?
Yes. Let's see if I can get the photo up. I just wanted to announce that we will be having an Indigenous Peoples' Day celebration on Sunday, October 12th, from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Falmouth Museum on the Green in their Cultural Center. And we invite all of you to attend, select board members and town manager and so forth, assistant manager. And thank you very much for considering this proclamation.
What time does that start?
It's 3 p.m., 3 to 5 p.m.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I neglected to announce at the start of the meeting to please silence your cell phone, and please notify the chair if you are making a video or audio recording of this open session meeting. The placement and operation of the recording equipment should not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. Okay, thank you. Our next is recognition. Does anyone on the board have any recognition for this evening?
I would like to recognize Leonard Johnson of Falmouth as the Ansel B. Chaplin Award winner bestowed by the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trust. Each year they honor one volunteer who inspires with his or her excellence in the cause of open space protection, and Leonard was awarded that this year. So congratulations.
I'd like to recognize the Falmouth Police Department, Chief Laurie and his staff, for the fundraiser they had this past weekend at the Dairy Queen in support of the Special Olympics. So thank you, Chief, and your staff for doing that on your Saturday. Thank you. Okay. Any announcements? No. We will then move to public comment. Public comment may be made on routine matters not on the agenda this evening. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. Please introduce yourself. Since the matter has not been included on the agenda, the Select Board may not participate in the discussion of the topic. Does anyone want to speak on public comment this evening? Doesn't look like it. Okay, well, very good. We will then move on to the consent agenda. I will read out the various matters on consent agenda, and if a member has a desire to hold it, we'll hold it. Otherwise, we'll vote it at the end. The first is a license to consider a vote to approve an application by Falmouth Theater Guild for 3 special one-day all-alcoholic beverage licenses for the performance of The Addams Family on the following dates: Fridays and Saturdays, 10/31 and 11/1, 11/7 and 11/8, and 11/14 and 11/15, 2025, from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., and Sundays 11/2, 11/9, and 11/16, 2025, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Highfield Theater, 58 Highfield Drive. Consider a vote to approve an application by Wagner Hospitality Management, LLC, located at 291 Jones Road, Falmouth, for a change of DBA of its all-alcoholic beverages in-holder license to Iris Hotel, Cape Cod. Number 3, consider a vote to approve the request to correct the business entity name on the existing entertainment license held by Cape Arts and Entertainment, Inc. to Cape Arts and Entertainment, Inc., DBA, Cape Symphony, and Cape Symphony Presents. Number 4, consider a vote to approve an application by Cape Arts and Entertainment, INC, DBA, Cape Symphony, and Cape Symphony Presents for a special one-day wine and malt beverage license as part of their Fall Cape Cod Record Fair to be held on Saturday, October 25th, 2025, on the Cape Symphony campus at 60 Highfield Drive from 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. Number 5, consider a vote to approve an application from WM Cycling Events, Inc. for a special one-day wine and malt beverages license for the Really Rad Festival of Cyclocross at Cape Cod Fairgrounds, 1220 Nathan Ellis Highway, East Falmouth, on Saturday, October 25th, and Sunday, October 26, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Number 6, consider a vote to approve the application by Falmouth Oriental, Inc., DBA Asia Restaurant, located at 452 Main Street, for a change of hours to its all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license to 11:30 a.m. through 1 a.m. Number 7, consider a vote to approve the application by Falmouth Oriental, Inc., DBA Asia Restaurant, located at 452 Main Street, to amend the hours of entertainment for its annual entertainment and Sunday entertainment licenses to 11:30 a.m. to 1 a.m. Administrative orders. Number 1, consider a vote to approve a request for a waiver of the special event permit fee for the 26th annual Chris Weatherby Memorial Toy Run fundraising motorcycle ride on Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. Number 2, consider a vote to approve a petition by NSTAR Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, to install one hand-hole HH22/H36 and approximately 16 feet of 4-inch conduit from existing JO pole 22/86 in the right-of-way of Davisville Road. This work is necessary to provide service to 468 Davisville Road. Number 3, consider a vote to accept a donation from Tim and Rachel Burns in the amount of $1,000 to Falmouth Fire Rescue Department. Number 4, consider a vote to approve a request from the DEIB Advisory Committee for the use of Select Board donation account funds to support the planned Indigenous Peoples Day event on October 12, 2025. Consider a vote to approve an intermunicipal agreement for sale of shellfish to the town of Dennis. And number 6, consider a vote to appoint Benefits Administrator Robin Callahan, as the Town of Falmouth alternate representative to the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group, CCMHG. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. We will now move on to committee interviews, and our first interview is for the Cultural Council. Avila Rudd. Please come to the microphone, introduce yourself, and tell us why you want to be on the Cultural Council.
Hi, my name is Avila Rudd, and I would love to be a member of the Falmouth Cultural Council, as I believe that cultural practices and presentations are essential. They're integral to any society flourishing. I personally am a member of my school's theater program, creative writing program, advanced music program, and additionally, I'm the president and founder of my school's book club. And I just believe that cultural appreciation is what ties us together as humans to our sense of humanity and ties us together as communities. And I would be honored to serve on the Falmouth Cultural Council.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Mr. Renshaw, did you want to make any comments with respect to it as to vacancies and so forth?
So, yes, Mr. Chair, Select Board.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you. As part of your packet, you can see that we have 3 current vacancies. 2 have terms ending June 30th of 2028. The previous members had reached their term limits, and we have the last vacancy, the 3rd vacancy, would fill an unexpired term, which ends June 30th of 2027. So you have those to choose from, Mr. Chair.
Okay, which would you prefer, Ms. Rudd, of expiring in 2028 or 2027?
May I choose 2027, as that is my year
Sure.
of graduation?
Yep. We kind of thought that. Okay, smart. Anyone else have any questions of Ms. Rudd? It's just
I don't have any
wonderful.
questions.
Yeah, just say thank you. As the young person here, no offense. It's so important.
You seem to mention it every time you,
I mean,
Mr. Richardson, I don't know.
as the inexperienced one,
Okay.
put it that way. Thank you. It's so important that people, younger generation, our generation, get involved in the cultural council. It's an incredibly important time to be on the council. So I just want to thank you. And I saw you're involved in student government as well. I did student government, and another incredibly important thing. So I don't have any questions. I don't know if anyone else does, but I'm happy to make the motion.
Mr. Brown?
I would just say thank you also for stepping up, and you're a young person, and we love to have more young people getting involved, so that's great that you're here. It's also, I think, an exciting time to get on the Cultural Council, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming up. At the One Cape Summit this year, they had a big presentation on cultural investment and how we can invest more in the Cultural Council and get more back. It was really a very interesting financial perspective of how investing in cultural councils really can invigorate your town's economy, so.
And I
Pretty
think
excited about it.
I think this would be the 2nd high school student that's on the council, or the 3rd?
Wow.
3rd. So that's really wonderful that we have young people stepping up and being part of town government, and we can certainly use your perspective. So thank you, Ms. Goldsmith.
Great.
Yeah, well, I was going to say congratulations to the Cultural Council for 3 young people and whatever you're doing. If you can also talk to all of the rest of our committees and spread the word, I think it's fabulous to see that level of engagement. I'm really curious, Avila, what kinds of events might you like to see more of that you think might get you and others of the high school age out to Cultural Council events?
I think that it's less a matter of specific things as just reaching younger generations and telling them what's going on in our community, because I think so much of the time people my age especially just get very busy and miss the fact that there are even things going on. And I think just maybe letting people know more in my generation, whether that's through like Instagram or different things, like people need to know that things are happening so that they can be a part and just really, appreciate that more. So that's what I would say to that.
Appreciate that insight.
Okay, and just to remind the audience and the community that there are still 2 vacancies available, and, I'm sure that we could use your assistance if you're willing to step up and join the committee. So, do we have a motion?
I will make the motion to appoint Avila Rudd to the term ending 2027 to the Falmouth Cultural Council.
Okay,
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Good luck.
Our next committee interview is with respect to the Freshwater Ponds Advisory Committee. Elise, I hope I pronounced that right, Seaman, and I'll ask Mr. Renshaw to tee this up as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the applicant is working their way to this podium, we have 2 vacancies in 1 application. The term ends June 30th, 2027, or June 30th, 2028. So those are the 2 vacancies the board has to choose from.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Seaman, please
Hi, everyone.
introduce yourself.
I apologize if I'm hard to hear. I'm suffering from laryngitis right now. My name is Lisa Seaman. I have been a resident of Falmouth for coming up over 35 years now. I moved here in 1988 to attend graduate school at Huey. Raised 2 kids. Now that my kids are grown and I'm not volunteering at the schools so much, I was looking for another way to give back to the town, and I am spent many, many hundreds of happy hours on our ponds. And so I'm very excited about an opportunity to get involved in this work. I am a biologist. I have a lot to offer in terms of just my knowledge and my skill set. And I'm just really looking forward to participating.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Seaman, any comments? Ms. Goldstone?
Could you tell us a little bit more about the pond restoration project that you're currently involved in?
Absolutely. So I just got in touch with the town, just because some friends and I were talking about how frustrated we were with the condition of Spectacle Pond. So I live on Twin Oaks Drive, which is at the end of Spectacle Pond in Hatchville. And there's just a lot of garbage being dumped there. And so we were hoping to work with the town and clean it up. So we're sort of waiting for some guidance from the town. Once they're able to get in there and remove some of the bigger items and do a survey, we were going to get the neighborhood together to go down and just clean up the stuff that we can handle and try to turn it into a resource for the neighborhood.
Great.
You heard about the old ladies against underwater garbage?
I have, and interestingly enough, I've been working with them to try to start a freshwater mussel survey program. There are freshwater mussels in a lot of the Cape Cod ponds, and most people aren't even aware they're there, unless you see your kids sort of skipping them like they're stones. But it's really unusual to have this many species in ponds, and Cape Cod is kind of well known for that in terms of people who understand their biology in Massachusetts. So I was working with them to have them go out, do their garbage pickup, and then just tell me what they saw.
Right.
And then the idea is to have scientists go out and do a more formal survey to understand what's actually out there.
Well, if they come out, don't give them any store-bought cookies. They have to be homemade.
Oh, is that true?
That's what they work for.
Good to know. Good to know.
All right, well, you're the right person for the job, I'd say.
Yes. I'm sure the board remembers we did increase the membership on this committee from 7 to 9, so there'll be one vacancy left after we vote this evening. Which do you prefer, the 2027 term or the 2028 term?
I say the 2028 so I can really dig in.
Thank you.
I think it'll take me a year to just get the hang of it.
Very good. Okay, any further questions?
No, I'd make a motion to appoint Lisa Seaman to the Freshwater Ponds Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending June 30, 2028.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, we will now proceed to our public hearing, and I'm going to turn to Vice Chair Goldstone to read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 140, Section 183A of the General Laws, as amended by Chapter 299 of the Acts of 1926 and amendments thereto, that Exit Cape Realty has applied for an entertainment license and Sunday entertainment license to be located at Holly Park LLC, 634 North Falmouth Highway, North Falmouth, Massachusetts. A hearing on the above application will be held in the Select Board Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, on Monday, September 29, 2025, at 6:45 p.m. Comments may be sent to selectboard@falmouthma.gov.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here this evening?
I am here.
Okay, please come to the podium, introduce yourself, and tell us what it is you're planning to do.
Sure. My name's Claudine Ryder, and I'm representing Exit Cape Realty tonight. Second annual vendor food truck fair, and this year they would like the benefactor to be Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center. So we have sponsors and gift certificates and raffles for people throughout the communities beyond Falmouth, but the office is in North Falmouth. We have about 25 vendors at this point and 2 food trucks, 11 to 4. Parking is going to be at Little Kids, which is closed, obviously, on a Sunday for volunteers and vendors. And then the North Falmouth Post Office is also closed on Sundays. Dunkin' Donuts, which sadly doesn't have too much traffic going on there, that whole parking lot is open. That worked out well for last year's event for parking, as well as some parking up at where Exit Cape Realty is in Cape Cod Cooperative Bank.
And there's not going to be any amplified or live music, is that correct?
We have applied for an entertainment license for a DJ to play. We have some of our state reps there acknowledging some of our veterans. We've have the DJ there to play not some crazy music, but a family event. So we'd like to have music there that gets the children involved. We have someone representing a company that will try to do that as well. So last year we had a DJ and weren't aware, and so this year we understand the process because it was our first year of going through the people in the town and the neighborhood, and we've done that as well, so.
Okay. Mr. Renshaw, do you have some comments with respect to the
No
application?
comments, Mr. Chair and Select Board. I will say that the application's been reviewed by the Police Department, Fire Rescue Department, and Health, and there were no objections. They anticipate 300 to 500 people, I think, throughout the
Yes.
entire event.
Question for the town manager, in terms of that review by police in terms of safety, was this parking arrangement also part of that with off-site parking and crossing 28A?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, great.
They look at the totality of the application, including parking.
Excellent, thank you.
Just a comment about the DJ. They can get really loud, so just, keep it to what you need and not,
Sure.
don't let them get out of control. There was an event at the North Falmouth Elementary School last month, and it was so loud I could hear it all the way down at 199, which is pretty far, and the neighbors were calling me, texting me, and saying,
So you live over in that area?
in North Falmouth, yeah.
So if you hear it, could you do me a favor? Want to come and have some fun? So I certainly will take that,
Yeah, just
and we'll listen to, of course, if any neighbors or anybody were to come. But we don't plan it being an outrageous event.
Okay.
Hopefully a successful event to help with our veterans who so need it.
Sounds good.
And Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes,
one other
Mr.
comment I
Renshaw.
almost forgot. There wasn't a butter that, off the list, that did reach out, and I think Select Board was copied on that. We provided the abutter with the information in terms of the hours of operation, and they're fine. So they-
Yep, we appreciate your taking
And
care
the
of that.
Patriots aren't playing that day either, so.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay, so we'll have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a-
Anyone like to speak with respect to this application? Okay, I'll have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we will move on to the application itself. Does anyone have any questions or comments with respect to the application?
No, I would move approval.
Okay.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to our business portion of the agenda. We're going to consider a vote to approve the sale of $8,885,000 in general obligation bonds and to sign bond documents. Mr. Renshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real quick, I'll turn it over to the Finance Director. Just want to let the board is already aware of this. I want to thank Laura and her staff for what I think was the most efficient and shortest bond rating call I've ever sat through. Very well organized, resulted in continuation of our AAA bond rating, which resulted in a very favorable interest rate for this bonds offer. So I'll turn it over to Laura.
Right, so, excuse me, we're selling the bonds to pay for projects that we've already funded through short-term notes, bands, but those are essentially $3.8 million for the Great Pond Phase 1 design and engineering, $4,915,000 for the repair and replacement of the North Falmouth Elementary School roof, and then a small piece under $200,000 for the remaining piece of a wastewater management plan. We actually did really well with the sale. We had 10 companies bid on the bonds. Bonds are sold competitively, so we go with the best of the lowest interest. And so that bidder was Fidelity Capital Markets. The true interest cost of 3.342%. We had, as I said, great response. The interest rate is great, and the timing on the sale worked really well for us as well. So from that perspective, it was a very successful sale. We sold the bonds with a premium of $597,997. A portion of that will be used to pay debt issuance costs of $147,000 and change, and then $447,250 is actually going to reduce the amount that we actually had to borrow, so we'll reduce the principal on the bonds. So the actual amount of the bonds that we're issuing are $8,440,000. And again, all the bond documents that you are signing are prepared by the town's bond counsel, Troutman Pepper Locke, formerly Lockboard. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions of our finance director? Certainly a very good result, and a result that results from the AAA rating that we have, and all the good work that you and the finance department and town management does. So thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
I would move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Zine, we have a report of the Recreation Committee. Is that why you are here?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Renshaw, do you want to give us any introductory comments?
As they're firing up the presentation, I will. As you all know, the Rec Committee is comprised of 7 members. In essence, the committee is responsible for recommending policies to the Select Board regarding comprehensive year-round indoor-outdoor recreation programming and policies. Such policies and programs shall be designed to meet the recreational needs of our children, youth, adults, and the elderly.
Okay, introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Renshaw, and Mr. Johnson, Staub Town Council. I'm Tommy Zine, the Recreation Chair Committee, and I'm going to give a PowerPoint presentation tonight. That's our philosophy. I'm going to read it. The Falmouth Recreation Department has adopted a philosophy for all of its programs that emphasizes a safe and healthy environment that provides sportsmanship, respect, responsibility, and teamwork, while always increasing positive self-esteem. We feel that through this philosophy, winning and losing will not be as important as learning and fun for all. Next slide, that is the town charter, Article 7, and that states that we are a 7-member committee, and we recommend policies to this select board. Next slide. I'd like to acknowledge our Recreation Committee and the outstanding job they're doing. Obviously, myself, I'm the chair. Sandy Cooney is vice chair. A very experienced committee with Patricia Morano, Scott Gelfi, Richard Bowles, and our 2 newcomers, Thomas Manchester and Carrie Shanahan, who bring their own set of skills, and it's a great fit for our committee moving forward. Those are our hours, Gus Canty, and those hours of operation are adjusted seasonally. Our recreation staff, Julie Williams-Tinkham, she's the director. Kevin Rotler, he's the assistant director. Lindsay Demers, senior office assistant. Sarah Wheeler, program administrator for enrichments and special events. And Ramon Pyers, program administrator for sports programming. Okay, we meet the second Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Next slide, those are program highlights, and I'll just highlight that. We're going to talk about the Summer Adventure Program, which includes, on the slide, you'll see a list of all the field trips that we provide. Also, Julie has implemented what's called creative theme days. It could be a hat day. It could be something neat where you have to use a song title or a lyric in your sentences while you're at camp, and she makes it fun. In addition, along with all of that, you'll see a list of additional events and shows at the bottom. Program highlights continued. We have our youth and adult programs, such as sailing, basketball, pickleball, and Saturday morning birthday parties, to name a few. Community engagement. This includes, in December, we just started, we had our first one this past December, a pickleball holiday tournament. Family dances, touch a truck, trunk or treat in October, and in December, a New York City bus trip. And I participated in these events, and they never disappoint. Community engagement continued, and I'm going to name a few of the items up there. We participate in the after prom celebration, which is a great thing for our young adults in the community, and it has a partnership with Falmouth Together We Can, the American Red Cross blood drives, and the Special Olympics initiatives. Turf fields. All I'm going to say about this is there is a need for our turf fields in the right place because of the heavy use our grass fields take from our recreation. And I just want to say we're all encouraged by Julie Tinkham and her creative vision she has for the Recreation Department moving forward. This presentation was brief, but it hit all the points. If you don't have any questions, and I know you have a busy night, I'd be happy to join my colleagues seated in the audience.
You actually have a
Go ahead,
question.
Jack.
I'm not going to let you off that easy.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Julie, for all you do. I do have a question. I'm more curious. So, this was the first year where there was a fee charge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the first year there was a fee charge for adult after the futsal and the soccer, or futsal and basketball. Was this the first year there was a fee charge for over 18 residents?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
How was the attendance level? Was it the same?
Thank you. So the attendance for the adult programs would be charged?
Yeah.
So it's still
Please
too
introduce
early.
yourself.
I'm so sorry. Julie Williams,
Just
Tinkham,
want everybody
Recreation
to know.
Director.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's difficult to tell because we only had the fee charges during the summer and in the fall, so it's hard to tell without having an entire year.
Gotcha.
But we do have quite a few folks participating. We've had more, just as an example tonight, is women's soccer, and we have more folks participating in women's soccer than we actually had before the fee.
Nice. Okay.
So-
Yeah, I was just wondering. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I've no other questions.
Mr. Brown?
I have a question about the synthetic field. You know, I know we've agreed to put that at the high school. I feel like maybe we need to think a little more about the natural environment that we have out there at Trotting Park. I'm having second thoughts about that. Can you tell me why it seems like the committee feels strongly about it. Would that be accurate?
We're just looking for ways of just giving our fields a rest.
Yeah.
If that's the answer, if not, maybe we look at another solution. Maybe increasing our,
More fields.
more fields.
Right.
More and more information every day coming out about the differences. Vice Chair Goldstone?
No, nothing.
Oh, I thought, Mr. Johnson-Staub, you want to have something to add?
Thank you. Yeah, just on the question of the environmental impacts, I did want to let the Select Board know that Julie Williams Tinkham and I requested input from the Board of Health with respect to environmental impacts. They've had a couple of conversations, and they have been deliberating on a statement to provide their input on construction of additional synthetic fields. I would also add we received some new information a couple months ago with respect to community preservation funds. Community preservation funds had been used by Falmouth and many other communities for costs related to synthetic field installation, and there was a court case a couple of years ago that has made that not allowable anymore. So we had intended to apply for CPC funds for synthetic fields. That's now off the table. So where that leaves us with future synthetic fields is to be determined.
Very Certainly a discussion we're going to continue to have. Mr. Zahn, any other programs that, you would like to see at the Recreation Department? Your committee have any ideas about additional programs? We know you do great work with the kids and adults, but anything we
I think she's doing a wonderful job. She adds programs every month. We talk about the new programs she's added, and again, her vision, as witnessed on some of those slides.
Julie, do you have any ideas?
Sure. So we have our half-day program right now for 5th to 8th grade students. So on school half-days to give folks, kids, a place to go after school. And while I think that we have a lot of 5th and 6th grade students there, I think that we need to figure something out for our 7th and 8th grade students. I think if anybody drives around town on a school half-day, you see a lot of Lawrence-clad children wandering about. So we'd like to, my staff and I are trying to get creative with how do we engage more of our 7th and 8th grade students to keep them engaged and have something for them so they're not
driving their bicycles all over the roads, as we seem to be seeing a lot of lately.
So we're trying to figure out how to engage those students while also continuing to offer the free half-day program for families that need that additional support.
That's a good idea. It's the first age of mischief, right?
If you can figure it out, let us know.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Reed.
I'd just like to thank you for all the efforts, having partaken in many of the adult activities, including indoor soccer. It's a great resource here. One question, I guess a comment first. I really appreciate the inclusivity that you're building into the activities, welcoming people of all abilities. I think in today's world, no matter how much we do, isolation still happens. People still feel left out. I'm wondering if you feel that the staff and volunteers are getting the appropriate training to not only prevent bullying, but maybe also how to build more inclusive and supportive social environments that the recreation is built upon. Are you getting that? Do you need more of it?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a great question. And I think that our first challenge was having our volunteer coaches get them into the building to do a training at all. So our first soccer training this year, we actually did a clinic to help folks know soccer. Right, and that was the best attended coaches meeting in years that we've had. So I think it's getting the volunteers in the door before the start of the season was our number one goal. And so adding additional information to give those folks and provide those folks to help create an inclusive environment. I mean, we weren't even getting enough volunteer coaches for our programs to coach our programs. So we are in a much better place this fall than we were last fall, and we had a whole lot more folks walk in the door, and we're able to provide them some training specifically about coaching. Certainly adding those things in as we get more and more people is a priority for us.
Yeah, anything we can do to help you with that? I mean, it's very important, especially in today's community.
Thank you. You're welcome to volunteer for our basketball. We're looking for basketball coaches.
I coach.
You could get down there and be a coach.
I coach soccer. Well, my mom was the coach, but I did the coaching when I was like 15. We lost one game and I was pissed.
We don't actually keep score, but
yeah, I did. I kept score.
Maybe we don't need his.
Yeah, no, I'm retired.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Vice
I have a question on the other end of the age spectrum, and that's with our senior center right next door and your mission to serve across all ages, all the residents of Falmouth. What's that working relationship like, and the kind of sharing of resources and divvying up of activities to make sure that everybody is getting what they need?
Great question, and it is nice being right next door and being able to just walk over and talk to Jill about different ideas. We do have our senior 60 and over pickleball, which is not as well attended in the fall with the weather still being as nice as it is, but we do have that opportunity. But the big thing, I think, for the seniors is the walking. Since they don't have the facility at the senior center to be able to provide a safe, warm, flat place for folks to come in and walk. And we do that Monday through Friday 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we get a group of folks that during the winter, as it gets cooler, more and more folks will come in. But there's some folks that come in with walkers, and they appreciate, no matter what the weather is, being able to have that space. And certainly, I know that at the Senior Center, they offer a lot of exercise and moving classes. Jill does, but I'm always happy to collaborate with her.
Thank you. Any further questions? Anyone in the audience? Okay, well, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. It was nice to see everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Chair? Yes, we have a gentleman from Cafe Asia. We've already voted on his stuff. Do you want to make sure he...
Maybe he doesn't realize that.
Sir, from Asia Restaurant, we actually approved your application, so you could go home.
You're all set.
Or go back to the restaurant. Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Reed.
Yeah.
Okay, we will now move to a report from the Police Station Advisory Committee report and consider a vote to select a site for the new police station. Mr. Renshaw.
Just a real quick preface. Mr. Chair, members of the board, the Police Facility Advisory Committee, which you appointed last year, has been working just at an incredible pace since February, literally, with the selection of a architect, Tecton, who you're going to hear from in a moment. I just want to thank the entire project team for the effort. We had a great community meeting last Thursday evening, where we took in a lot of great comments and suggestions. But again, my thanks to Mr. DeMello, who's the chair of the committee, and the entire project team for a job well done. And I'm going to, once they get the PowerPoint, they have this fine-tuned and the delivery of this presentation timed out, so I don't want to spend too much time.
You have 20 minutes, Mr. DeMello, so thank you.
We'll try to stay within the time frame, sir.
We appreciate it.
Anyways, good evening. My name is Boyd DeMello. I'm chairman of the Police Station Advisory Committee. Here with me tonight is also Steve Kirby of the Veritex Companies, who serves as the town's owner project manager, and Matt Salad from Tecton Architects. Also joining us is Police Chief Jeff Laurie and members of the Police Department's internal working group. I don't see any of them here, but I would also like to take a minute to acknowledge my fellow committee members, Chris April, our vice chair, Michael Duffany, George Shrell, and Robert Zolo. As Mr. Renshaw mentioned, their input and guidance and diligence on this project has been outstanding over the course of the time since we started this. So I'm pleased to report that since December of last year, this committee, along with the Police Department Working Group, the town manager, the assistant town manager, several of the town departments, have been working with our owner's project manager and the architect. And we've been meeting approximately every 2 weeks on site selection and conceptual designs for this much-needed project. This is a collaborative effort that has brought us here tonight to present the proposed site to the Select Board. Before I move forward, I'd like to briefly review the existing police station site, which is located on the municipal campus on Main Street. This is the municipal campus down on Main Street, which houses not only the police station, the Edward Marks building to the front of the property. Next door to the police station is the senior center, and the recreation center after that, and then Fuller Field to the rear. Currently, the police station takes up about 2 3/4 of acres on that site. This next slide kind of demonstrates, going forward with the conceptual plan, why we just can't stay at this site. One, currently, with the proposed conceptual design that we'll get into briefly here in the presentation, the buildings, can't read that far, sorry, 43,744 square feet with another additional 4,500 square foot outbuilding. It's going to require about 4.5 acres of land on that site. So that square represents what would be equivalent to 4.5 acres on the current municipal campus downtown, and as you can see, it just won't fit there. So the committee moved on to looking for other sites, and I'm going to turn this over now to Matt Salad from Tecton Architects, which will go over the defining the need of the new police station.
Thank you, Boyd. Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Salad. I'm a project manager with Tecton Architects. And I'm just going to briefly go through a little bit of the process that both the police department went through as well as us working with the police department and the committee to sort of figure out how big this new police station needs to be. And it started with an internal staffing study that the police department had conducted previously. So they went through using a lot of national standards, a lot of data-driven guidance to establish sort of what their staffing model looks like, both compared to today, but also looking forward and understanding what their department's growth is going to be based on things like crime rates and things like that. So the very first step in doing that is utilizing what the International Association of Chiefs of Police has said is sort of a benchmark for what's called the officer per thousand ratio, sort of how many officers as a benchmark you should be looking to have based on the number of 1,000 residents within your community. They also looked at a workload-based approach, looking at number of calls and incidents, how many times an officer or officers need to respond to an incident. Right, the more you're taking somebody down the road to respond to deal with a response or an incident, right, the less you have the opportunity to deal with others. So when you're looking at the total amount of crime within an area, you need to make sure that you're staffed appropriately to deal with all those responses. We then looked at the crime. They've looked at the crime-based statistics within the town and the community and how that's changed and evolved over the years. That's not just looking at like how many patrol officers we need, but maybe there needs to be entire new divisions, right? Maybe there's more traffic offenses within the community, and so maybe now we need to create a traffic division within the police department. And so it's sort of the policing model over the past 30 years has evolved from sort of this pull them over, lock them up sort of mentality to a more community-based service response within the police departments. This is sort of a national trend as part of the 21st century policing tactics and community-based policing approaches. And so that requires a different aggregation sort of the departments and divisions within the police department. And each of those have their own specific requirements in order to meet the need of their community. So that sort of summarizes is in looking at the national benchmark, that officer per thousand ratio on an average across the country, we're looking at about 2.4 police officers per 1,000 residents. Taking that one step further, New England and coastal communities, you're looking at 2.63 officers per thousand. Based on the staffing study that the PD had conducted, it actually looked at a lower amount of that. And a lot of that has to do with your seasonal increase in population and things like that. But what that actually looks at doing is increasing your current staffing level of 67 officers to 86 by the year 2029, so just in a few short years from now. Concurrently with that staffing study, we conducted our own independent space needs assessment, working with the police department and the committee. That involved us interviewing each division in the police department as a whole and understanding how each officer, each division, each department within that organization does their job and what they need to do with that. Storage needs, equipment, office space, desks, lockers, things like that. And we want to look at that because we're not building, even though their staffing study went to 2029, we're not building a building for 2029, right? That's anticipated, that's about when we're anticipating this is going to come online and start. So we want to make sure that we're planning for the future, much longer term. And so we're planning a building for 50 years with this project. We want to make sure the town of Falmouth is getting the best return on that investment, and that building needs to stand up a significant amount of time so that you're getting the most value for it. And so on the left, you see sort of that change in staffing over the next 4 years through the staffing study, and then what we're projecting over 50 years, which leaves room for about 129 staff within the building, an increase of about 40 sworn officers. And I should note that, right, we need to have some sort of accommodations for flexibility in the future, because we don't know what policing is going to look like in 50 years. So we want to make sure we're building in that flexibility within the facility to maintain that. In addition, we want to make sure that we're also not overbuilding, right? We went through that space needs assessment with the police department. We were going through not just the needs, but also the wants, sort of the wish list. We want to understand everything they need to operate that facility, and then we'll sort of cut from there with what makes sense and what's affordable by the town. And so our initial space needs assessment generated a building square footage of just under 59,000 square feet. And a 3,600 square foot outbuilding. Boyd had mentioned we were looking at 4,500 square feet, right? So that total program, that total square footage was over 62,000 square feet. Now, we went through a series of value engineering exercises to right-size that program to make sure that it aligned with the budget and the expectations of the community. So we reduced a lot of things. We took out some nice-to-haves and got back down to really the core values of what the building needs in order to function and serve this town over the next 50 years. So we took some spaces out of the main building, right? A new police facility has very high standards in which it needs to be built to structurally. A lot of technology goes into it, so each dollar per square foot is very expensive with the main building. So we took a lot of storage spaces and things like that and offset it from the main building and put it into outbuilding that we can construct at a much lower cost. We also eliminated some very expensive spaces like a live firing range and things like that. That brought the total square footage that we're looking at today to 43,744 with an outbuilding of 4,500 square feet, right? We made that a little bit bigger to offset some of the space we removed from the main building, totaling 48,244. So through that effort, we actually reduced the initial space needs by 23% and really got down to the core mission of what the building really needs. With that, I'll give it to Steve Kirby, who will go through our site selection process.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, Board. My name is Steve Kirby. I'm with the Vertex Companies and the OPM for the project. I went all the way down.
Page down by accident, I think.
Okay, sorry about that. Selecting a location for the police headquarters of the Lentley project. As part of the town-wide assessment that actually started in 2023, Falmouth's town planner, Jed Cornock, actually assembled data on all the town-owned properties. This data was used to review each property and evaluate its viability for a police headquarters. Now, Jed started with 576 town-owned properties and systematically reduced the parcels to 404, 132, 33, 22, and then ultimately down to 16 properties that met evaluation criteria such as not being conservation land, the parcel size being 5 acres or above, adequate frontage, not being within a flood zone, and little to no environmental concerns, as well as road access and location. So those 16 properties were handed to the Police Station Advisory Committee to evaluate, which was accomplished by using a site selection matrix that included the 18 evaluation criteria that you see up here on the screen, which included topography, presence of wetland, deed restrictions, vehicle access, lot size, etc. And we were able to reduce the parcels from 16 to 4. So the 4 parcels that we reduced down to was what was called parcel 8/9, which was up on Route 151 at Nathan Ellis Highway and Falmouth Woods Road. Parcel 16, which is by the wastewater treatment plant on Blacksmith Shop Road. And then parcel 15 and 14, which are on Brick Hill Road. And then just for location, we're showing the existing police station. So we continued on and had Tecton Architects do what we call a fit test to make sure that these parcels could accept a police headquarters facility given the area that was needed. And we also started a pros and cons list. So this being parcel 8 and 9, which is up on Route 151, you see that it does fit within the property, but there are a number of cons. Multiple utility easements. It was a challenging topography. It was a very narrow site, and it was difficult access onto Route 151 due to the speed limit. There were some pros. There was no flood concerns, and it had adequate utilities. The next parcel, and these are in no particular order, is parcel 14, which is Brick Hill Road. Again, took the layout and the 4.5 acre site that is necessary, laid that out on the property. And this is, as you can tell, this is a much closer view because that parcel has 101 acres in it. This is locating it across from the Lutheran Church. It did have good topography, good site access, adequate utilities, no flood concerns, and no geotechnical concerns, but it is in the Water Resource Protection Overlay District. The next property is parcel 15, which is also on Brick Hill Road, which is abuts parcel 14. Again, did the test fit, that it does fit. The initial cons were that you could visualize large boulders. There's a challenging topography, poor roadway visibility. It's in the Water Resource Protection Overlay District. There were some pros. It had good site access, adequate utilities, and no flood concerns. And then the last parcel, parcel 16, which is on Blacksmith Shop Road, again, did a test fit. It did fit on the property. That property has 314.5 acres, but that's where the wastewater treatment facility is, and there's also an animal shelter located up there. The challenges there was challenging topography on the area that's left, and it did have a poor site access on the service road. It did have adequate utilities, and there was no flood concerns. So given those 4 properties, we reduced it down to 2, which was parcel 14 and 15, both on Brick Hill Road, next to each other, and we actually did a preliminary geotechnical assessment where, with the help of the DPW, we did test pitting with Tecton's geotechnical engineer. And ultimately, the parcel 14 had a much more favorable results. Parcel 15, which we had observed on the surface, having boulders, when we did the test pitting, rocks and cobbles continued on that subsurface investigation. The preferred site is Brick Hill Road, parcel 14. They're both addressed as 0. But parcel 14 has the lowest potential site development cost. It's got good access and visibility. It's got adequate municipal facilities, good topography. The bearing soils are set up for geotechnical, to bear foundations. It's an adequate size for now and for expansion. And we will ensure that we meet all the requirements of the Water Resource Protection Overlay District, including tying into the upcoming sewer. I'll turn it back over to Matt now for preliminary design review. Thank you.
Thank you. So just real quick, just giving a brief overview of the design and layout. Steve mentioned that we weren't developing all of the site, right? One of the key things with the Water Resource Overlay District is we don't want to develop more than 15% of the site. That's one of the requirements. So this site being well over 100 acres, we want to keep a tight, compact footprint, and we want to stay as far away from Long Pond as we can, so that we're make sure that we're really protecting that resource as much as possible. So we're maintaining about a 1,000-foot buffer between the edge of our development to Long Pond itself. You can see that we're putting our easternmost curb cut is actually directly across the driveway into the Lutheran Church, so it actually sets up a nice relationship there. Good availability for ease of access for residents as well as the police. We're about 1,500 feet away from the intersection to Gifford Street and about 450 feet away from the intersection to Andy's Lane. So we're really trying to create a buffer from the residents within that area as much as possible, and trying to keep our site development as compact and as tight as we can to make sure that we're really protecting as much of this parcel as we can. So zooming in a little bit closer to the site plan, kind of want to get up here and point, but so you can see the site access over here across the street from the Lutheran Church. That would be your main entry point for any of the public coming in to visit the police station. We have a public parking lot along the front of the building. We're trying to create a little bit of a buffer between that parking and the road edge there as well. It's a nice wooded road, and we would want to maintain some of that. The public parking lot is sized appropriately to to provide access for a training room that can be utilized by the public within the facility that houses 50 seats. So we're giving enough so that the public would be able to park here, use that training facility for an event, as well as other police function, coming in to get a records request, things like that. To the rear of the site is your main staff parking area. That gray box in the middle, just below where it says staff entry, would be a potential covered parking canopy that we would set up for a solar array in the future. And then behind that to the south is our outbuilding, so that's where a lot of our storage functions and things like that would occur. To the left of the site, we have a small impound lot for any vehicles that are involved and need to be maintained for evidence and things like that. And then you can see highlighted on this plan as well where our main staff and public entries are into the building as well.
So first of all, I'd like to thank Matt and Steve for their presentation, and they've been great to work with over it. So to wrap up our presentation, the Police Station Advisory Committee has voted to recommend what we call Parcel 14 on Brick Hill Road to your board for approval tonight. We respectfully request the board's consideration on this recommendation at tonight's meeting or your next select board meeting. Now we're happy to answer any questions you may have, but I'd really like to thank you for your consideration at this time.
Thank you. One question, Mr. Renshaw or Mr. Johnson-Staub, what's the next thing that's going to happen here to move this forward?
So next step, and Peter can chime in as well. So next step is, Mr. DeMello just indicated, select board approval of the site location. Ideally, what we're looking to do is go into town meeting on November 17th with the site location in the explanation section. Just to give town meeting members an idea, it's difficult to ask for close to $5 million now in design monies without having an actual site identified. So that's the next step, is select board approving the recommendation of the advisory committee as far as site selection, and then moving forward, putting that in the warrant, in the explanation section for that, so that we can go forward and hopefully get funding for the design engineer.
All right, thank you. Any questions? We'll start with Mr. Reed.
Can you go back to the site selection overview, starting with the 576, getting down to 22 slide, please?
Sure. Thank you.
Actually, before we go there, starting with all 4 of those parcels, am I seeing any development currently underneath that overlay? Or is that undisturbed land that we're... So all 4 sites are undisturbed currently? Okay, can you go back?
Except for this one that has these red lines are indicating utility easements that crisscross there, so there's roadways.
So utility, okay.
Blacksmith Shop Road, that is where the wastewater treatment plant is.
Okay.
That's the 314 acre site.
But the section of the wastewater treatment plant property where we would have availability to construct the station is undeveloped at this time.
Did we look at, maybe this is a question for the town planner, did we look at any parcels that were already disturbed or had current activities or anything on that?
Yes. It was not, we were mostly looking for sites that did not have a competing use. So we were honestly looking for mostly undeveloped sites so as to avoid displacing an existing operation. However, one site that we did look at was the school administration site, and that one was assessed, and it was not brought forward for a number of reasons.
So one site had existing uses, the rest of them not?
Correct.
Okay. I'll just cut to the chase. I'm very concerned with the current site selection because that is the gorilla in the room, which is, or however you want to say, the elephant in the room, the 800-pound gorilla on the table, is that this is right directly on top of conservation land that we just spent the last weeks and months conserving land to protect our water source. I'm all for getting us a new police station. and getting us a new police station with all of the size and everything that's been outlined, Chief, I want you to have it. I don't know that I can support us right on this important aquifer. I know that there's 1,000 feet, but there's, if you look at the studies further, it's 10 years for something to get through, right? We have other places, and we've been given 3 or 4 days to really review this. My concern is that this is not the right spot.
I have a brief remark on that, and I'll let others chime in on this conversation. The committee did, that was very apparent to us, some of the dynamics of this site. But every time this committee and the working group sat down and we started evaluating the sites going forward from the, 16 on down, without fail, this one site always seemed to rise to the top of the list for us, as being the best site possible. We know there's some concerns with being in the Water Protection Resource District, and I believe Mr. Johnson-Staub or Steve or Matt or Peter can speak more to those concerns, but there's stuff that we did discuss it in the committee meetings on a regular basis.
My concern is that we would never consider this for housing development.
Correct.
We would never consider this for anything, and so if we build here, we're setting precedent that says we can build anything so that it has 1,000 feet. So we can go all the way up 28, we can go all the way over, we can come all the way down Gifford Street, is basically the precedent that we're setting right now, if we approve this site.
Not really.
No?
No, because not every place has an opportunity to connect to the town's sewer system.
Is that a prerequisite for the police department?
I would say so. It's in the
You
plan.
would say so, but is that a requirement?
It's going to be a requirement.
We, as Boyd said, we reviewed this, and initially when Jed gave us his data, it was clear that this was in the overlay district. But we've talked with Peter as far as, this sewer main is going to be installed well before this particular project goes into construction, and would be accounted for. Any kind of washing of vehicles, all that would have to be captured into a tight tank. We'd have to do hazardous materials management. It'd have to be permanent erosion control. There's a requirement for a groundwater monitoring well. All that would be baked into the design. And we'd have to obviously go for a special permit.
I appreciate the eliminating the live fire range. Is that completely eliminated or just not for now?
Well,
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
So, great questions, totally understand, developing near the water supply is not something to be taken lightly, so, we certainly understand where you're coming from. With respect to the last question, the live firing range, the police department would love to have a firing range on site, no question about it. This site, size-wise, certainly allows for that. If for no other reason than cost, we are not including it within the scope of the project at this time. So have we absolutely eliminated it from future consideration? No. It would be an indoor modular firing range, so there would be no materials coming out of that building, so I don't know that it would really present a risk to the water supply. Okay. And if I may, with respect to the precedent, this is, in my view, and it's not a legal precedent, right? So what I think you're suggesting is it's a sort of conceptual precedent that could put the board in a position of having pressure for other development in and around the water supply. When we talked about this with the advisory committee, one of the ways I framed it is we really need we need to develop some more athletic fields. We would never put them here. Not now, not after the police station. We're talking about a police station. And it's not something that we're going to do 5 times in the next 5 years or 5 times in the next century. It's a core public safety facility that needs to be in a really good spot. And truly, we're hard-pressed to find sites that are developed or undeveloped that are large enough that would accommodate the town's needs, without displacing a site. We talked about the Morse Pond School, for example. When we started our selection process, it was unknown to us that the school might be turning that over to the town, but after we were well into our process, that was brought to our attention. But we did not seriously consider it for a couple of reasons. One, because it was felt that we can't wait 7 years to start construction of a police station given the current conditions that the police department are operating in. And 7 years is best case scenario. If they get SBAB, if the school gets their grant funding right away, that would be the earliest that we might begin construction. But also, even timing aside, Jones Road is a highly congested road that's very narrow and difficult to provide traffic improvements. So the police department felt that that was just not a place where that would be adequate to meet their needs, even if it was available today. Again, you know, we don't know of other sites that are developed that are available that we can move on quickly to create a station that we really require.
So can I ask why, I'm sorry, I guess I should yield time. But
No, go ahead.
you said in a previous statement that you wouldn't put any recreation fields where this site is. Why?
Because it's a lesser priority. It's not a police station.
Priority. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Ms. Goldstone.
So I would also say, first of all, very much appreciate the need for a new police station as quickly as possible. I really appreciate the building in realistic growth scenarios in terms of staffing needs and recognizing the incredible challenge that we face with a summer population that's nearly 3 times the year-round population, and trying to account for that is incredibly difficult, and really appreciate also the second look that you took and the efficiencies that you built into what you're proposing. There are a few things about the current plan that I'm struggling with, and they basically come back to the site selection, but the sewer hookup helps a lot, but my other concern is not just wastewater, it's runoff from all of the hardened surface within 1,000 feet of our drinking water supply. And so I'm curious, a few things. Have you considered permeable pavement so that it's not runoff, but you know, and some sort of drainage underneath that, because we're talking about cars, and that comes with both pavement runoff and potentially oil, gas, all sorts of those sorts of things that run off of parking lots. The other thing is the number of public parking spots seems truly huge, and I understand having some meeting space there, but also one of the pros that you're citing of this spot is being near the Lutheran Church, near the YMCA, near the high school, and I wonder if there are opportunities to explore sharing parking if we're going to have a public event. It's probably not going to be at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Could people, park across the street at the Lutheran Church to avoid the need for additional hardening in a very sensitive area? And then I guess my last question is, why wouldn't we just go ahead and put the solar on the parking lot canopy now instead of setting it up and waiting for some future date?
I can answer question 1 and 3, and I think 2 is for the chief or someone else. On the first one on stormwater management, so this project will have robust stormwater management practices. Those will be permitted through the town. They will be reviewed, and they will be engineered such that it doesn't cause an issue. So pervious paving, where that makes sense, certainly. Often we do that in parking areas, not main drive aisles, because they tend to get beat up and things like that. But anything that enters the stormwater system, management system, we're not just going to let water sheet flow off into the grass or surrounding woodland where it will eventually make its way into Long Pond. It will be captured, it will be treated, it will go into detention basins. Whether it's a closed system or something that is permeable and slowly leaches back in after the stormwater has been treated through a storm scepter or something like that. All those practices will be taken into account and engineered so that the whole site functions as a single stormwater management system, not something that's just going to sheet flow away water with oil and things like that. Anything that involves a garage, car washing, anything like that is going to go to an oil water separator. It's going to be treated. It's going to go to a tight tank and have to get pumped out. So it's not going to be discharged on site. So all those things will be taken into consideration. In terms of building solar today, so it's very typical best practices in municipal construction to build out the infrastructure. There's a number of ways that municipalities buy out solar packages for their buildings through power purchase agreements or buying them outright. It tends to be a little bit more costly to just bid those out and have them part of a general construction contract. Those are normally specialty contractors that come in and do the actual installation of the arrays and the actual final electrical connections and things like that. We certainly could consider it and put it in as an alternate. There's a number of different procurement avenues that we could go through with something like that. Certainly, it's getting a little challenging to understand what the cost of solar panels are right now with a lot of the tax incentives starting to sunset. So, I can't say today whether or not they fit within the budget that we're imagining for this or not, or if it makes sense to buy it with the building or not. It's certainly something that we would consider. But the building code requires us now that anything that's a roof that can support solar shall be designed such. So the infrastructure will be there at the very minimum, if not solar right away. And there's also some requirements that we'll have to coordinate with the electrical utilities because there's a limit on how much solar, from my understanding, that we can implement right now, because there's sort of a ceiling in which you can install a solar array right now just because of municipal utility capacity throughout the Cape. So those are all things we'll continue to explore and certainly report back on as we develop the project.
So I'll answer your question regarding the parking spaces, and then I have a quick comment. So it's dark out right now. If you wanted to hold a select board meeting there or there was a community event, I foresee movie night for the kids. I see all kind of communications opportunities, with this 21st century policing, and having them park in a safe environment that's lit and not having to cross that major roadway to walk into dark parking lots. I think let's do it, and let's do it right. And real briefly, on Thursday night, I talked about, when I left this meeting in early June after you affirmed me, I went to the station and toured it. And the deputy chief who's here today with Tom McGuire, detective, and Doug DeCosta, our internal committee, the deputy asked, what did the chief think of the building? He was appalled, and I was, until I came in today, and we have sewage backup in the male and female locker rooms. We need to get out of there. We're doing our best to keep it clean and doing, this site makes the most sense, not just for us to get out, but for you folks, so we can adequately be able to handle their needs where it's more centrally located for people to come to. Just look at Main Street right now, and all those housing units aren't inhabited right now. Just for us to move on Main Street, there was one day I went from the police station to town hall to a meeting, and it took me 30 minutes. I was stuck in the parking lot for 15. So I'm just saying this is definitely a priority. This is by far the best site. I have every confidence and faith into our internal team that we're going to make sure we have no environmental impacts on the community. That's why we're so far away from that waterway. But this definitely, in our opinion, from early on, we felt this was the best site. And when we did shave this project down, we did it both internally, and I used this exercise as a team building exercise. The entire department's been involved in this. We did our own internal, bringing it down in size. They did their, and it almost mirrored each other. So we're on the same page. I have every confidence in them. But this definitely, in my opinion, and I'll be quiet, is the #1 site that's going to basically serve this community for years and years to come. And hopefully you will support it. Thank you.
Mr. McConerty?
Speaking as the Director of Public Works, not as a resident. So when this project started, I was in the selection process of the architect. I was in the selection process of the OPM, and I attended every project meeting, every committee meeting that they had since the beginning. For the reasons, as being the Director of Public Works, I feel it's one of our major responsibilities for the water department is taking care of that water supply. So for us, we're very protective of that water supply to see what goes on and see what happens. So I came to every meeting when they had them and went through and listened to what was happening, and I offered our opinions of what could happen for that site. Permeable pavement is an option, different kinds of options. Public Works reviews all the plans. So those plans are going to get designed. They're going to come to Public Works for our review. And we're going to do a thorough review of that because it's in the watershed area. The water superintendent is in favor of this. If the police station was going to be able to go to this location, it would step up the enforcement for the watershed around Long Pond. It's a very active area over there, so the Parks Department is also in favor of it. The site for us is a good location. 1,000 feet away from the pond is 1,000 feet is plenty of room for. It's not in the Zone A district, the 400 feet for the pond. So, as the Director of Public Works, I feel that we're going to be having a big responsibility checking into the design on this to make sure it's designed correctly, and we're going to be looking to see that it's designed exactly like the new water plant that was constructed in 2017 and opened in 2017. State-of-the-art facility. The water plant was the first plant in the state that we went through DEP, and they let us allow that as we didn't have to fully operate that with staff. So we got a lot of accreditations for that, and we're going to be looking for the same as this site for the site. For the building, I'll leave that up to the architects, and we'll leave it up to the police department. But for the site access and the drainage and the wastewater, all those functions we'll be looking at. Okay. So the wastewater is if it goes according to plan, it's beginning construction in 26. It'll be over in 28. The wastewater line will be running right up Brick Hill Road. We've been working with the wastewater superintendent, having conversations. However that works out, there's two different options to be able to do with the wastewater. We will not be looking at doing an IA system or a septic system. We're not looking at doing that. And for the stormwater, we'll be looking over that also with the stormwater to make sure that what goes in the ground is not going to affect the Long Pond. So I think from a public works perspective, we're going to do as much as we can to make sure that the site is designed in conformance to what we feel that we need for many years to come.
Thank you, and I think that rigorous review as well as the permitting process, in my mind, discounts any precedential import for what we're doing. I have confidence that other applications will be vetted very closely by staff and the permitting process, so I'm not terribly concerned about the precedential value. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. M.G.L. So I attended the meeting on Thursday, and I found it very interesting, and one of the questions I asked was if we could consider adding a full basement, and I wasn't really clear that I would also like to know if we could consider 4 windows on the backside. The reason I brought it up was because I could tell that it was proposed as slab on grade, and I know that's cost effective, but given that the size of the building initially might have been as much as 58,000, now we're down to 43. Maybe in the future we might wish that we had a little more space and without building new areas. The other harebrained scheme I had was that maybe half of that basement could be a modified shooting range to get by for, till we come up with a few more million to build the outdoor one. I don't know if that's practical. I just want to share with the board that those are questions that I asked, and I don't know if it's something that we can add, but I'd like to know what we're passing up, if there is an opportunity there. It's going to be an elevator anyway, going to the second floor, so to have it go to the first floor, probably an economy of scale there. That's one thing, and then the other thing I was interested in, I forgot to ask at the meeting on Thursday, are there new drainage systems that have filtration? Is there something out there that is not the norm that maybe we could step a little higher? I'm concerned that permeable paving might allow stuff to go right through, might not be the best. I'd rather capture it in a catch basin and potentially filter it before it re-enters the groundwater. Is there such a thing?
Anything over a parking lot, you'd want to capture that and have that treated. At the water plant, they have oil water separators before it gets out. They have tight tanks, exactly as how Mr. Salad experienced. There's a lot of technologies that are on the market. The further you go with the technology, the more maintenance it requires for the maintenance in the future. Right. But like I said, those are the items that we'll be looking at Public Works for us with the site. I believe it's over 100 acre lot. We'll be looking to shave off 5.5 acres on Brick Hill Road. And I'll just share this, so for access so one thing looking down the road, 28A always gets very busy, so going southbound. And the reason it gets busy is there's no southbound ramp getting on Brick Hill Road going down to Woods Hole, going south. If this site gets selected and approved, we'll be making a call to Mass DOT to ask them to look to put a southbound ramp for the occasion, so they'll be able to do emergency runs, but we'll also relieve some of the traffic on 28A. So there's a big process with working with this for the access for the police station.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy that they ever built it like that with no...
It's something that they did back in the 50s when they did that, but we've already been talking with Mass DOT about this anyways. But this is something we'll be looking to push forward too.
Yeah.
So it's just an
I have a question on process. Mr. DeMello at his beginning said at this meeting or next, and there have been some concerns raised or questions. Mr. Reed feels maybe we didn't have enough time. So what would be the process? What do you need from this board this evening? Would it be possible to discuss it at our next meeting if that's the sense of the board?
So, yes, Mr. Chair and Select Board, the request was for consideration for approval, review and approval tonight, but we do understand that the process has moved relatively quickly. It's been a year-long process, but getting the information together and presenting it has been relatively quick, and we understand that. So my ask, if that's the direction of the board this evening, is to postpone a decision, that we have that decision on October 14th, because as you recall, that's kind of that deadline date for voting the articles. And as I mentioned earlier, we look to put the site selection and the explanation so that town meeting members have clear indication of what we're requesting the engineering and design funds for, and ultimately leading up to a year from now, request for construction funds. So October 14th, the next meeting, would be okay, but my ask would be that we don't go any further past that.
Okay. Any more questions of the board?
Well,
Mr. Richardson.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the only, thank you, Mr. McConnell. Your expertise there was incredibly helpful, bless you, in terms of explaining the permitting process and where the industry's at. I do share concerns that Mr. Reed has about, I would hope that a outdoor gun range would be unanimously ruled out at any point, because I think that would be a nightmare. I mean, what we saw what happened on Joint Base Cape Cod.
Never asked for one.
Okay, so there you go, check. My second one would be to work with us maybe a little bit on the parking spaces. I do think what you're suggesting is great in terms of using it as a community space, but you know, I played soccer for the high school, and that lot that they have never has more than 5 cars in it. And there is a sidewalk on Brick Hill, if there's, maybe we can get some lighting or something on the way there. I'm not prepared. I would look favorably on just voting on this on the 14th. But, you know, I want to thank the committee for all the work you guys have put in, the chief for your advocacy. I mean, you know, I toured with Senator Fernandez last week. You guys need a new building. That's for sure. But just a little bit, I think with a little bit of working with us here, I think we can hopefully come to a solution with this site. But I think at this time, I do not feel comfortable voting a recommendation either way.
I just say that, you know, we hear your concerns on the parking, and through the town manager's office, you know, the committee and the working group can provide you some more insight into the parking plan if that helps you make a decision either way. Mm-hmm. So, and Mr. Brown's reference regarding the foundation under the building, Veritex and Tecton are working on your request. It just wasn't prudent to bring a price cost estimate tonight. It takes some time to get that done, so to provide the right cost estimate on your request, you know, before coming. And we're not at that point yet. We're looking for design funding at this town meeting, so.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, though, with respect to the issue of parking, I mean, we're being asked just specifically for the site selection itself. Is that correct?
That's correct. I guess the sort of the suggestion is that we have plenty of time for design questions, whether the parking has 50 spaces or 12 spaces. We have time to consider whether or not there's a basement. Where we do have some time pressure is to decide what site we want to build on. And we did have a question. I think the board received an email from me. It was late, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. But even if we dramatically shrunk down the parking to from 50 to, say, 20, which we're not recommending, we're still looking at 4¼ acres. So it's not like, it's not like it opens up a whole bunch of new parcels that we didn't look at.
And I would just like to say that if we're going to wait and not recommend this site, look back through the history of this and honestly ask yourself, is there a better site? Because I don't think there is. I mean, I just don't think it's out there.
I'll say that I'm ready to vote approval, but I, concerned about the questions that some people have, and if they're uncomfortable, I'd just as soon, hold it off for the 14th. Mr. DeMello, you have any other comments? Otherwise, I'm going to see if anyone in the audience has any comments they'd like to make, or hold them until the 14th, or send us emails if there are. But do you have any further comments?
I do have one more question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd just like to ask the chief if you had any chance to think about that suggestion that maybe an indoor range might fit in the basement. Does that sound like it might be even possible, or am I just off base there?
Anything is possible.
Does it sound practical to you, or is it just a crazy idea?
In my humble opinion, I would rather have the modular outside, one for sound. We can keep the sound in. I'm just afraid, we may hear it inside. It could disrupt operations. I'm not sure. I would leave it to these folks. I know Bourne has an indoor range, and they can hear some things, is my understanding. But I'm open to anything. But like I said, for us, and I won't be able to attend on the 14th. I can have my staff attend if you have any further questions for the police department. But anything is possible.
Okay, thanks.
Especially with these folks.
All right.
Thank you, Chief. So is the consensus that we hold off on a vote this evening? Is that...
I'd prefer that, but...
I would like the extra time to sit with it, but I do just want to really say thank you to all of you for the additional information that you've provided this evening beyond what was already in our packet. It's clearly been a very thoughtful process. I would appreciate the extra time to sit with both my concerns and the information you've provided, but very, very helpful.
Okay. And Mr. M.G.L, first of all, I know we blew by your 20-minute mark, but this is kind of an important subject.
We're doing all right.
I apologize to those that are waiting after us. But I think as the committee, I can kind of speak for the committee. I think we'd be happy waiting, until the next board meeting for you to, you can get some of your questions answered. You can think this process through. It took us from December of last year to tonight to get to this location. So, honestly, a couple more weeks of letting you consider this is prudent at this time. So, as long as we can get it for town meeting, so we can keep the project moving forward, because we have to get them out of the building they're in now.
Okay. And I urge the members, if you have any questions, try to get them out as quickly as possible so we could get some response. Ms. Schneider, you have some comment?
I just have to say one thing, Barb Schneider, Precinct 4. As a person who 15 years ago stood just down the road from where this site would be and had bulldozers carve an area in, I had no idea at how the Falmouth Dog Park on Brick Hill Road is the center of the universe of Falmouth. But it is so central, and people can get to it from everywhere so easily, except for those who don't realize that there's no southbound on-ramp for 28 and go back and forth looking for it. But I do want to say it is really an excellent location. We picked it not looking at it on a map, but because of what it did site-wise. But it is absolutely the right location.
And we know the dog park is the center of the universe. Thank you.
Actually,
yes,
Mr. Chair, if I might, that sparked another thought question, which is just that we've heard from the Bike and Pedestrian Committee that they are working on the multi-use bike and pedestrian on Brick Kiln, and I don't know how the timing of that development, whether that's going to be on both sides of the road, how that might interact with the entry for the police station as well, but
Really going past our time limit on this one. Yeah, Public Works is working with the Bike Ped Committee. We're looking at an east-west connector. We've been looking at it for many years. Brick Hill Road is the selection. We have a sewer project going in. We're going to put the sewer project in, and just for opportunity of cost savings, we're going to be putting the water main in at the same time. Several years down the road, we're going to be looking at putting an outfall, once the outfall comes in through, and then the outfall will be on, we're looking right now, the outfall will be on the north side of Brick Hill Road where the Lutheran Church is, and most likely, if we do a bike pedestrian multi-use path, it'll be above, once they clear that, it'll be on the north side of the road. That's what we're looking at right now. So it would be on the new YMCA or the Lutheran Church side of the roadway. We prefer that because there's no crossing of Brick Hill Road. You can get right to the high school. You can get to the lunch place up there. You can get to Lutheran Church. You get to the YMCA. So the north side of the road will probably be the location.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one further question regarding site selection?
Sure.
Did we ever consider a comprehensive look? Often my challenges here is that we look at things in isolation. We are looking strictly at a police department and a police building, of which we absolutely need. But in the context of the greater things, we have a lot of moving pieces. We have schools, and we did talk about Morse Pond, but we also have a major pollution issue over at Trotting Park, where we're going to put a permeable layer down, but does that create a problem in another 50 years or not? Did we look at Trotting Park and other places that have existing services or existing uses in a creative way that we could actually trade and look at things comprehensively, just to find another spot that's not undisturbed?
So, two answers to the question, I think. Honestly, did we look to combine activities,
Or replace, trade?
Yeah, so not really, but any park, like the Trotting Park is sort of an interesting thought. It's Article 97 land, so that we did screen out Article 97, sorry, that's any recreational or open space land is protected and requires not only town meeting approval, but state legislative approval in order to use it, and then you would need to, that Article 97 process with the state, and I believe it's the Department of Environmental Protection that advises the legislature on that process, and we would need to, whatever acreage we're taking out of recreational use in this case, we would have to find undeveloped land that is not currently protected as recreational or open space and put it into recreational or open space. And we've gone through that exercise looking for athletic field locations, and we're very hard pressed to find those opportunities.
I'm just going to say, building on what Mr. Reed said with respect to isolation, I think at some point, not this evening, we want to talk about what's going to happen to the police station campus once we go forward, so that the community has an idea of the process we're going to go through to use that property in the future. So, again, not for tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll move on. We will hold this until October 14th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your hard work. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we will now discuss and consider a vote to approve the site location for the East Falmouth Library as recommended by the East Falmouth Library Building Advisory Committee. And as everyone is getting ready, we'll ask Mr. Renshaw to give us a little background here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian Stokes, our outstanding library director, is at his position at the podium. Peter's been working closely with Brian and in the advisory committee. So, Peter, do you have any comments you wanted to make as far as that?
So, I think Brian is going to pretty much address the whole thing comprehensively. It started with a feasibility study of the existing library and a grant opportunity that comes around very rarely. It's I think it's maybe less frequent than a blue moon. So the last, and Brian can help sharpen up my recollection on this, it's been like 10 years since the last library grant was available, and it is not known when the next one might be. And with that, I'll let Brian take it away.
Thank you, Peter. I'm Brian Stokes. I'm the Library Director at Falmouth Public Library. I'm joined today by Jennifer McBrory, who is the Project Manager for CHA, who is providing owner's project management services on this project. And Judy Fenwick is in the audience there. She is the Chair of the Board of Library Trustees as well, so thank you for coming out. I'll give you a very quick overview of how we got to today, since some of you are new to the Select Board since the last time I was here to talk about this. In January 2022, we did a survey of users of the East Falmouth Library.
Stay close to the mic.
Sorry, I like to walk around. We did a survey of users of the East Falmouth Library, essentially asking them what they wanted from their library that they weren't getting. They wanted more children's space. They essentially wanted more library. They wanted a bigger library. They wanted the library to stay in the building that's currently there, and they wanted the library to be where it is right now, right next to Smitty's. So we took that, and in April of 2023, we came to you when we learned that the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners would be doing another one of these Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program grant rounds. We came to the Select Board and we asked for their support to file a letter of intent to apply for the grant program. We got that approval, and so we filed that letter of intent. And then we had about a year to apply for the program. So one of the first things we did as we were applying for this program was we wanted to find out the condition of the current existing library. That building was built as a private home in the early 60s. It became a public library in the early 1970s, and it's been there ever since. The Board of Library Trustees commissioned M.G.L Associates to do a building assessment in November 2023. What we found was that the building was not in great shape. It had about $2.2 million worth of needs immediately in the next 0 to 2 years to bring it up to accessible condition, as well as deal with some structural issues that the building had. So knowing that and knowing that that work wouldn't address some of the things that people also really wanted in a new library, which was more space and definitely a meeting room or a multi-purpose room where they could meet, similar to the Herman Room at the main library downtown. We decided that as we move forward writing the library building program, that we would pursue a new construction situation. So we wrote the building program. We did a lot of public engagement in the spring of 2024. We had meetings at the East Falmouth Library, and we also had an article on the warrant at April 2024 town meeting to allow us to apply for the grant and secure $150,000 for planning and design if we were to get the grant. We filed our application in May 2024, and in January 2025, we found out that we got the grant. So the first thing that we did was we needed a building advisory committee. So you convened a building advisory committee, and in March they got together. They recommended a OPM. They recommended a designer for the project, and then by the time all that got done, it was July. So the first thing we set about doing after that was assessing the viability of the current site, 310 East Falmouth Highway. That's where the library is right now. As part of the grant program, we had to submit 2 locations that would be possible to build a new library on. 310 East Falmouth Highway was our first choice. It's a disturbed parcel. It's had a library there for half a century. And in our engagement, we really heard that people really liked the library being there. For the purpose of the grant, we had to list another parcel that was town-owned in East Falmouth, so we listed 81 Davisville Road as a secondary site. In July, we got the results of a topographical study of 310 East Falmouth Highway, and on that we observed that there's actually the top of a coastal bank running essentially halfway through the property there. So essentially anything to the west of that top of the coastal bank can't be built on. So we realized that even though we had this full parcel here, which is kind of strangely shaped and currently has a structure that impedes on that top of the coastal bank. We couldn't build fully on that. So that was going to be a challenge because for the library building program that we submitted to the Board of Library Commissioners, the library is about 7,500 square feet, which you can see is about twice the size of the library that's there now. That was going to be a challenge. Another challenge was the current site has about 16 parking spaces. For our building program, we had to have 35. So knowing all of this and talking to the Conservation Commission, we realized that there were going to be some challenges. So the first thing the designers had to do was establish whether or not they could achieve the building program and the parking on this site. So I'll scroll down here. This is the buildable area. And this is what they were able to achieve. So this is the library that they are able to design on the site, as well as 35 parking spaces, all fitting within that top of the coastal bank. The area to the west of this library is also wetlands area, so because of this, we'll have to do some mitigation of the space. So a lot of the currently mowed lawn here will be sort of given back to nature and sort of reclaimed with natural vegetation and whatnot. So the area that's currently a sloped grassy lawn will actually be sort of just back to a natural sort of habitat. With this established that the site is viable, we can achieve the building program and the parking on the site. Jennifer sent a letter to the East Falmouth Library Building Advisory Committee suggesting that they recommend this site to the Board of Library Trustees and to the Select Board, as is their charge. And the East Falmouth Library Building Advisory Committee on September 11th did, in fact, vote unanimously to recommend this site to the Board of Library Trustees, who accepted that recommendation a few days later, and now that recommendation sits with you. Any questions on all that? I know it's a lot, but I was trying to speed through.
Is there any rendering of the building itself?
Not on this. So at this point, we're sort of just at the sort of early design phase. Any renderings wouldn't be realistic in terms of what we can actually promise the building would actually look like. But, you know, the intent is to keep it within the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Were there any reasons articulated with respect to not going forward with 81 Davisville, or what the concerns were with respect to that site vis-a-vis your site?
Well, this site was, you know, uniformly recommended by people that we talked to as we did outreach during the grant application period. 81 Davisville Road is a densely wooded site, so it would require, if for any development, would require clear cutting and disturbance of, you know, natural wildlife habitat. So it also, you know, this has always been where the library is in East Falmouth, and so there's a downside.
Yes, Mr. Richardson.
81, just to follow up on that, 81 Davisville Road is totally undeveloped, right? There's nothing
Correct.
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of questions. So I know a couple of kids who are going to really miss the tree that's going to come down for that expanded library, but I full-throatedly support keeping the library in this location. My concern, and not to be monotone tonight, but is the amount of parking.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the parking lot behind Smitty's. You've got a dramatically underutilized, like 3 different parking lots, right? In front of the grocery store, behind the grocery store, over next to Family Foods. And you said that those 35 sites are required by your building program?
Well, they're actually required by Falmouth Code. So the MBLC would require less. But there is, you know, in the building program, we do have a 50-seat multi-purpose room or a meeting room. So 35 would be still below what the capacity of that would be.
I have a new agenda item.
Well, so I was going to say, so the planning board, and Mr. Cornock, jump in here if I'm misquoting, but conducted a parking study, at least for downtown, and one of the things that the consultant said was that our parking requirements as a town are way too high, right? That we need to pull that back, and they also really recommended public-private partnerships and parking sharing. Now, that was primarily looking at downtown, but I see no reason to not extend that to the rest of the town. There's a whole lot of unused parking there.
Yeah.
Let's not pave over and cut down more trees to create parking spots. I mean, I can tell you there's already parking sharing, because I used to live 10 houses behind Smitty's, that we often park in the library parking spots to go to Smitty's because they're closer to the front window. But when those aren't available and we're going to the library, we'll park behind Smitty's when Smitty's is closed, right? So that's already happening informally.
Yeah.
Why don't we look at actually just formalizing that? If we need some walking paths, some signage, something to be able to do that and cut down on the amount of additional pavement that we're putting into this site.
I think that's a great idea. I know that the town manager's office has been talking to Smitty informally, and so I believe we are maybe meeting with him tomorrow. At least we've reached out to have that meeting tomorrow to discuss about collaboration on parking that might ease the pressure there. Because frankly, I agree with you.
Brian, what is the state requirement with respect to the number of parcels?
I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe it's 22.
Okay.
For a building this size.
Mr. Brown?
So it's difficult to really endorse the site when it's so tight and the footprint is so big, when we don't know at all what the design might look like. I'd be hesitant to recommend the site if I knew that I was going to have just a giant box just to accommodate the space that you need.
Sure.
Is there any flexibility on the footprint of the building itself, not just the footprint of the foundation, but, how many floors is it going to be, 2?
It'll be 1 with the basement.
Huh, okay.
Mr. Chair, if I might?
Please.
So, yeah, to that question, what's a little different about this process is that we are operating under the parameters of a grant, right? So the grant gives us 2 options, and really it's sort of one option with a caveat. So just looking through the lens of the state grant, we have to either pick this site or the alternate site that was identified, and we have a very tight timeline to evaluate those 2 options. And in fact, the reason I say it's sort of one option with a caveat, the grant really spells out not, study 2 sites and build, give us a design on whichever one you like best. It says, look at the preferred site that you have identified in your grant application, and if it is feasible to site a library that meets the library program there, then complete your design for that site. Now, that doesn't mean that the town is absolutely committed to proceed with that. We have we're in the library grant process. We have the design grant. We may have a wait of a couple of years to get the construction funding grant. In the interim, if the town decides that, we're really not satisfied with the library that we can put at this parcel, we can choose a different site. It won't be part of the library grant process. We won't get the 40+% construction grant opportunity. So you're not completely bound to, to this timeline and this option, but for practical purposes, just to get the grant completed, we don't have a ton of options here.
Right, but I'm just trying to understand, what are the constraints of the grant? Do we have to build to a certain size to?
Yes, so go ahead.
Yeah, so we do have to achieve the building program, because the building program was approved, and that's what got us the grant. So they liked the library that we designed in the building program, and that's what they'd like to see completed. So it does have to have the elements that we laid out in that design.
Do you have the option to do a smaller footprint and 2 stories?
It would be an option that would create significant hardships from staffing, because essentially you would have to double the staff in order to for safety issues. With this library, you have, based on the positioning of the circulation or the service point desk, you have 95% vision of the public service area from that desk.
Mm-hmm.
You would not be able to achieve that in a 2-floor setup.
So it sounds like, unlike the police station, we have a tighter time frame here with respect to this particular item?
Yes. So the design is due to the state by the end of the year. So we'll be submitting this if we move forward in December. It has to pass independent review. And if it's accepted, then we're looking at probably 2028 before we would be up for state funding for their portion of construction. And so, then we would have to seek local funding as well.
So, but do you need a vote tonight of this board with respect to this application?
It would be ideal, given the time constraints. We do have a lot of design to do as we move forward. And, again, we did a lot of outreach on this. People have a lot of fondness of this location. And so, we think that this is going to be a great library. We've done a lot of work. There's still work to do. But I truly do believe, as somebody who came into this process as it was already started and sort of inherited this project, I do believe this is a really worthwhile pursuit.
Okay. I'd like to see if there's any questions from the public, but yes, Mr.
Just want to ask one more. You're the designer?
No, I'm the owner's project manager.
Oh, okay.
And we do have a design outreach or a design engagement meeting tomorrow night at the East Falmouth Elementary School in the cafeteria at 6 p.m. So there will be some design shared there and opportunities to share perspective with the designers there as well.
Okay.
So vote today and look tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm prepared to vote. I don't know.
Well, let me just see if there are any comments from anyone in the audience. Okay, if there are none.
The only thing I just want to add, just because we're talking about libraries, I just want to thank you for your work. This is a very interesting time in American history. I won't go beyond that to remain nonpartisan, but thank you for your work and thank your staff for your work. Libraries are incredibly important, and just thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
I'm prepared to make the motion then I don't have it in front of me. I'm not prepared to make the motion. Motion to approve the recommendation of East Falmouth Library Building Advisory Committee to identify 310 East Falmouth Highway as the preferred site for planning and design of the new library.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your work. Okay, now moving along, and with two storms brewing in the South Atlantic, I think it's a very good time to have a presentation from the Falmouth Emergency Management Director regarding storm preparedness and evacuation planning. Chief Smith, or Mr. Renshaw. would you
No
like to-
introduction.
No,
I think
no.
you timed it up, or you summed it up nicely, and the timing is perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, Peter, would you have this anywhere in particular? I think it got loaded.
Hope so.
Let's try that.
Awesome.
Arrows too.
All right. Okay, well, good evening, and thank you for such a lively conversation tonight. It was deja vu, listening to planning for stations and buildings, so but all pertinent and all necessary. So I was asked to provide just a brief overview of emergency management and also to talk about the Cape Cod traffic plan, emergency traffic plan. And, and I have a short window just to kind of give a brief overview. But, as chief of the fire department, I'm also the emergency management director, and I work in coordination in conjunction with the town manager. And town manager being, responsible for the governing of the town, I work with him, and any declaration of any emergencies and such are a coordinated effort. The Falmouth Fire and Rescue Department, back in 2002, when we had our renovation done at our station, the previous fire chief, Chief Broder, had the forethought of having the Emergency Operations Center taken out of the basement of Town Hall and brought over to the fire department up on the second floor. And so we utilize our training room also as our emergency operations center. And we've used it many times since that in the inception and, and placement back in 2002. And it's been a very good location for us to manage any type of emergency that we've encountered over the last few decades. In reference to the storms that are brewing, we're coming to the end of the hurricane season. When we talk about the traffic plan, that's solely in regards to the hurricane, threats that we have. But the storms down south, from just watching them and listening to some of our partners, thankfully it's all going to stay kind of south and move a little bit east, and we might have some surf issues, but we're certainly not going to be impacted by those storms as long as nothing changes. So anyways, so just to kind of go over, what our role is, obviously emergency preparedness is a vital function, especially in a town like this, because we are so impacted by weather. And we have certainly a lot of other things that we could encounter in our daily lives that may require us to have to come together and manage some type of event in town. But it's not a costly thing, and it's not a time-consuming thing, because we've been doing it for quite some time. And for the fire department, and working with our public safety partners, including the town manager's office and the Board of Selectmen, we've got pretty good experience in, because the community being what it is, we work well together. And I think that, it's a great partnership all around to try and manage and go ahead with trying to ensure that we're doing the right thing. So it's worth its weight in gold to be continuing to have these conversations. Just as a reminder, too, we don't rest when we're dealing with emergency management. Each month, every Thursday, with the exception of the summertime, we meet and we host our local emergency planning committee. It's at 2 o'clock on Thursdays in our EOC at headquarters, and we come up with a different topic each month. This past week, we had a cybersecurity expert talk to us about AI, because it is something that could threaten town government. So we wanted to talk about that within our group, to have some type of preparedness, because our IT people are, always working on some of these issues. So we thought that was something that we could, bring up as a topic. And each month we come up with something new that we can present and, and discuss. So, as many know, there could be two types of, of emergencies that could be out there. We either have natural or man-made disasters, and our natural disasters are just mainly weather-related. As you can see, we are affected by winds. Who knew that we'd be talking about droughts? But we are. Earthquakes, we've had a couple. Emergency diseases, pandemic, not so much influenza, COVID, and here we go. We do have heat issues, hail that comes with some thunderstorms. We could have some damage, landslide debris, and not so much, except some of our coastal areas might have some issues, lightning, tornadoes. Who knew we'd have one, hit down in Woods Hole and one come up Buzzards Bay. And mainly what we see is the winter and ice storms that affect us on a more general basis through, each year. Sinkholes, haven't really encountered any of those. That's a good thing. I wouldn't want to be on the road when that happens. Man-made, we certainly can, encounter that in our daily lives. Working in the fire department, we run into structure fires and things like that, which can occur, and they can be small in scale, or if we had a large-scale fire conflagration or something, that certainly would be very impactful. Nuclear power, we have that nearby. Radiological emergencies, as a result of these nuclear power plants, Falmouth Hospital uses a small amount of radiological substances for some of their x-ray evaluations, and they keep us abreast of that every single month. They always give us a pre-plan from them to let us know where everything is. It doesn't change, but they keep up with that as part of their ongoing oversight of any of the radiological materials that they have up there, very small in numbers. Chemical threats, we could have that. And obviously, the last two things, the civil unrest that's happening across the country, we talk about that, and we work in partnership with our police department. And as far as aircraft, we do have a small air part, and we have encountered aircraft crashes. They're not in large scale, but we've had some significant impact from smaller aircraft, and recently we had one land on our beach and successfully take off from the beach, which was phenomenal to watch. But they do happen in this small town of ours. So our emergency operations, when it's set up, on the left-hand side, that's an actual storm event during one of our blizzards. Our personnel get together, we set up our room in a situation, we call it a King Arthur room, where we kind of square off everything. So if we have everybody that's seated at the table, we can all talk to one another like I'm doing with you right now, and it helps to, to streamline some of the conversations. One of those individuals that's sitting there was our Eversource representative at this meeting, and he was embedded with us along with the police department, the DPW, ham radio operators, and the room is set up so that we can quickly set it up and to get things running, and then we can build upon it. And we've been very fortunate with our IT personnel. They've done a phenomenal job to continue to help us build with this infrastructure to support our management. On the right-hand side, that was our recent road race, and we grew it in size and in technology. We have more computer monitors. We have rolling computer screens that are all touch screens that we have that allow us to have that interaction with particular screens. We can put up now drone feeds and things. So this operations center has been growing in scale to meet some of the issues that we face, whether it's a storm-related issue, or, as I stated, natural or man-made, but also we utilize it when we have planned events. Falmouth is vulnerable when we have our 4th of July event, when we have our road race event. There's a larger, impact on us because we have so many people coming into town, and it really weighs on our services. And what's necessary is for us to manage the event, and we use it in conjunction with all of our partners and in conjunction with the town administration, and we're able to make sure that we can have a central location to manage this. And if we pre-plan something and we can set this room up, it works out, in our best interest. And if we have to get together in short notice, we can do the same thing and put together, this room for all of those individuals that need to be there to participate in the Emergency Management Operations Center. Boyd DeMello, besides being our fire inspector and being on the committee for the police station location, he's also works with me on the staff in the Emergency Operations Center. And we've been, how many years we've been doing storm, oversight. So, in a nutshell, the algorithm that we utilize for the Emergency Operations Center all kind of stems from the town manager. When, in most instances, in storm-related issues, we have plenty of forecasting, so we can really discuss what might be forthcoming. The other thing is that we work with our partners at the county level. We also do it with the state level. We have representatives from MEMA that joins us, and the Barnstable County Emergency Regional Planning Committee works in conjunction with a very large scale of partners that all come together when we start to do some type of readiness discussion, and everybody's at the table and everybody talks about their individual communities and the impacts and the resources that might be available. So we work well with everybody. Within the town, once it's activated, we get the ball rolling. We work in conjunction with the police department, DPW, and all of our other agencies. And if you look at that scale, the DPW, the water department, building department, emergency services, health, school department, harbor master, in Eversource, and all these utilities have all been at one point or in time have been in the room with us working to manage large-scale events. As you know, during blizzards or some of the storms in the past, the no-name storms that have come in the town and have created such havoc for us because of trees, power lines, flooding. We need to have everybody together so that we can coordinate our efforts and try and get critical infrastructure back online. And this Emergency Operations Center in the central location allows us to work within all those functions that you see there. We haven't had something in large scale that would be, something that would trip, like, a bigger presence from like the federal agencies and stuff, but we utilize incident management, and all the things that you see on the right-hand side are all part of incident management, and we call it scalable. So anything that happens in town on emergency management level or emergency response, we can build upon it and make sure that we're addressing some of these critical needs. With regards to the emergency traffic plan, just wanted to show you. This is the state plan for the Cape, for the emergency traffic plan. The one thing that we have been fortunate over the years, because this was developed in 2013, it's supposed to be evaluated regularly, and I think the last time they did it was in 2022. It's available on many state websites. You can make access, and you can bring it down to this size, so that entire book can be shrunk down to, a flyer. And essentially, what it is just a valuable tool to try and move public out of the Cape area should we be subjected to some massive storm that, in conjunction with MEMA, the governor's office, local government, if everybody got together and decided that the impact was going to be that great, they could put this plan in place. And essentially what it does is it just uses Route 6 and Route 28 to the bridges, and it's coordinated, and it's planned through MEMA and the state police to make sure that we can move personnel or individuals off of the Cape. They say it's not an evacuation plan, but I don't know how else to describe it, because if everybody's leaving the Cape, it is an evacuation if you're being told to leave. But most storms that might be very impactful might be on a local level, where we're trying to move people out of certain areas because they might be prone to floods. And if that's the case, the Falmouth hosts one of several shelters that are on the Cape, and at the high school is where our shelter is. And if we stood that up and we had to move people, at least we could move them in locally. If we had to move them in large scale off Cape, this traffic plan is well coordinated and well designed by the state police, and it's managed by local police as well, that they would be able to move people over the bridge and shut down certain roads that you normally would feed into to Route 28 or to Route 6, and just make it one accessible lane that goes either north or west, and they would just flow everybody off the bridge. The one thing that is interesting with this plan is that if they decided to shut the bridges off midstream and they're moving people off, they'll stop the traffic flow at the Otis Rotary, and they'll stop it at exit 2 on Route 6, and they'll stop the traffic and move what residual traffic is left between the Rotary or exit 2 and the bridge, and they'll move everybody off, and that's it. The base is set up for shelters and staging, and they have different tiers of how they would set up moving people onto the base, and that would be where anybody that got caught in this movement could be sheltered. That, in my tenure in the fire department, being here as long as I have, I've never seen anybody do any practical or type drills where they exercise this. So it's all written out. It'd be interesting to see how it got going, but if there's enough time and enough presence of resources and such, I'm sure that this plan could accommodate, any type of evacuation that was halted because of the bridges were affected. But on a local level, we work with all our partners to make sure that we are we are coordinating our efforts. We're also ensuring that everybody's doing this in a safe manner. And once, we were ever, all on the same page where something like this was going to take place, then again, we would get together at the Emergency Operations Center at the fire station, and we would work together to manage that with the town government and our local public safety partners to ensure that we were getting everybody safely to wherever they needed to be. So the plan is pretty much, illustrated and also written out in these pamphlets, and they're available on our website, or on our town website, excuse me. So you can access it. If you went to the Falmouth town website, you could go over to the fire department, and we have it all listed on the left-hand side of the page. And what you see here is would see, you'd be able to access these. That just shows you in this example on the left-hand side that everything's going towards the Bourne Bridge. They shut down certain roads, I know everybody uses Waze or Apple. Everybody likes to take Trowbridge and go around. You wouldn't be able to go around. They would shut it off. They want to have direct access, and the same thing would go for Route 6. So the state police would have a lot of detours and blockages for everybody.
Chief, I'm going to ask you to kind of wrap it up,
Yep,
if you don't mind.
I'm on the end.
Appreciate it, okay.
So anybody that is interested in our Facebook page, our administrative assistant, Kim Strom, is also our Assistant Emergency Management Director, and she, and along with Boyd, also take care of a lot of our Facebook posts, because we post a lot on social media leading up to any events, but you certainly can access through the town website. We have an emergency preparedness page, which gives a lot of information for preparedness to help anybody in the general public to set themselves up for success, to be safe at home, to be prepared should there be a pending storm or event. And again, the other resources that are available are through MEMA, which is our state management direction, FEMA on the federal level, and the ready.gov would also give you the availability of, of accessing other information that would be very handy, getting yourselves prepared for storms. So.
Thank you very much, Chief.
That's it. All, and thank you
You're very
much.
confident in the plan. Thank you.
Can I ask?
I am. I'd be interested to, we always tell people that, in the fire department, we work well sometimes under chaos, so something like that's going on. I'm sure working with all our partners, we'd be able to, to make sure everybody's being taken care of, and we'll manage it.
Question? Yes.
Two very quick questions that I hope the answer is a very simple yes to each of them.
Okay.
In the case of an extreme storm, does the second floor of the fire department feel like a secure enough location for an emergency operations center?
Yes.
And excellent. We're one for one. Have there been conversations about the impact of bridge construction and/or renovations on our emergency plans?
Not at our level. I know that Bourne and Sandwich have been very active in those conversations, but it hasn't gotten to emergency managers on this part of the Cape yet.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
If we were to have a major hurricane heading our way and there was an evacuation order, who would coordinate that traffic management at the Otis Rotary and the bridge? Who takes over on the regional scale?
The state police.
Okay.
The state police manages all that, and they would work with their local partners, but this plan was developed by the state police and MEMA, and they'd be coordinating that, the traffic patterns and plans.
And one more, if I could. I saw this presentation slightly different a few years back, and it was highlighted that we had that capability of petitioning off that road, that room upstairs, in case there was a need for federal authorities in some kind of a different capacity than the local capacity. Is that still in play?
We have the capability of splitting that room into two parts. On a we that can have a partial or a full activation of the EOC. On a smaller scale, which you saw that picture of the storm, that's half of the room. If I ever had to break it down, we could, and we duplicated things on both sides of the petition. And I also have another room. That's the chief's conference room. It's smaller, but that mobile screen that we have now will enable us to have a third area if we had to have our, our government officials all together to kind of talk in a secure area.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed, this agenda item is on there because of you, so if you
Yeah.
have a question, please.
No, I appreciate your time, and this came from the constituency. Someone was asking about this, especially in relation to the bridges being down, so appreciate it. Having been in the 4th of July and the road race traffic, you have your work cut out for you because it is impossible to get out of town, and that's not chaotic.
Yes.
You add an emergency situation onto this, it's going to be very chaotic. So I trust you have the plans, you're working on it. My one concern, and it's not really a question, is just how do we get this information out more broadly to the average citizen so that they don't jump on ways trying to beat you.
Right.
And get around you and add more chaos? How can we talk about these emergency plans so people are aware?
So if there was an event that was forecasted, many days in advance, we start to look at it. These storms have been brewing down in the Atlantic for a while, and we pay attention to them. If they are getting closer, we have meteorologists that for storm, for storm's sake, they give us information and whether there's confidence in something that's happening. And then if there is real high confidence, it gives us a little bit of time to get together to start to manage this a little better. I'm confident that with everybody that we have in place that we'll be able to manage it. But thankfully, our partners, especially the police department, we've worked together, and we do, because of the road race and the 4th of July, we have great planning now, and we talk together on a regular basis, and we do it several months in advance for those two events. But on a regular basis for storms, we also work together with our partners, and I'm confident that we'll be able to manage it.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we won't get a chance to try it out next week.
Mr. Richardson?
No, the winter's coming now.
Thank you. I Googled Cape Cod Emergency Traffic Plan, and Mass.gov immediately came up right there.
So
perfect.
So any even with our meetings that we have every third Thursday, we have FCTV joins us. We have the capability of live streaming out of the fire station as well. They have the capabilities, and if we had to do press releases or if somebody from town government had to get on the government channel, we can do that from there. So everything's well situated to help to get the message out to everybody.
And the only other thing, this is super timely for me for my day job, the Senate, the Joint Committee on Emergency Preparedness is coming to Mass Maritime tomorrow. Because
Excellent.
we're a regional leader on this, so thank you for your work. And this regional, touched on a bit, but the regional collaboration on this particular issue is really strong. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Mass Maritime is very helpful for us too. We support them, and they work well with us. So thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely.
Feel much
Have a
better
great evening.
today right now.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay. Okay, with the indulgence of my colleagues, we're going to skip F for the time being and go right to G, which is to discuss and consider a vote to approve an application to the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund from Habitat for Humanity of Cape Cod regarding the project located at 805 Gifford Street Extension. Mr. Renshaw?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go through this real quickly and then turn it over to either Kim or the Habitat rep. So as the Select Board may recall, this goes back about a year. The Habitat for Humanity Cape Cod submitted an application requesting $500,000 in funding, $250,000 of which was for acquisition of the land at 805 Gifford, and the other $250,000 was for construction of 4 homes for home ownership. Importantly, all 4 homes would be deed restricted as affordable in perpetuity. On July 29th of last year, the Habitat for Humanity Cape Cod went before the Select Board as trustees of the Housing Fund, who voted to award that requested amount of $500,000. During the subsequent permitting process through the Zoning Board of Appeals, Habitat for Humanity of Cape Cod agreed to include an innovative alternative septic system, which, as you all know, is at an additional cost. And that request and consideration was due to environmental concerns in the community with regards to traditional septic systems. So, in essence, what Habitat for Humanity of Cape Cod is requesting is an additional $100,000 in funding assistance to help offset that additional cost in innovative alternative septic systems. And with that, I'll turn it over to the representative.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Noreen Brown, Director of Land Acquisition. For Habitat for Humanity of Cape Cod. Thank you to the chair and the members of the board to consider our application. As it was explained, we have elected to install this new technology, although this particular site, 805 Gifford Street, is not in a nitrogen-sensitive area. But Habitat does take pride in protecting the environment, and it was strongly encouraged as the project developed over time. So we have the site here. We have 4 homes. We have 4 homes going in behind our restore. The lot 2 is the middle one with all the more activity on it, and that's where the shared septic system will be. So we have to extend that. There'll be more hardware in the ground, so we have a little more additional cost. We received estimates from 2 provisional approved septic designers, and we decided on the one that was more economically beneficial. So that'll go on lot 2. It'll be a shared system for all 4 homes, and it's $25,000 per home. That'll be freeing up some of the construction funding that we already have to get the funding in for the septic, which will happen earlier on in the project. We've already received the comprehensive permit from the ZBA. We've gone past the 20-day appeal period, and we're hoping to take title in the fall of this year and start some infrastructure work next spring.
Okay, well, thank you. As the members will probably remember, our guidelines actually go up to $150,000 a unit, and up to this point, we have allocated $125,000. So by doing this, we would be, getting to what our guideline, current guideline is with respect to what we can allocate for projects such as this. So, any questions?
Would it be premature to move approval?
Not at all.
Second.
Does somebody have the, here you go. If you don't have it up there on your thing.
Acting as trustees of the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund, I move approval to award $100,000 in supplemental funding to Habitat for Humanity of Cape Cod for a collective total of all appropriations to equal $600,000 for the project located at 805 Gifford Street Extension, and authorize the town manager to execute the documentation setting forth the terms of the financial award to Habitat for Humanity of Cape Cod.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. The vote?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank
It's a good
you.
project. Thank you. Okay, we will now go back to F and discuss and consider a vote to approve an application to the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund from Bushwood 545 LLC, Michael Galasso, regarding the project located at 545 Main Street. Mr. Renshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give a real quick overview introduction. So as you all know, I've been here for about 2.5 years now as your town manager. My first tour down Main Street, I saw this really interesting existing building that was sitting vacant, and I think most of you know how I feel about properties that sit vacant. So I say this because this is a really unique opportunity, and it struck me, it left an impression on me. This, like the last application, goes back to June of last year. When Bushwood 545 LLC, being represented by Mr. Galasso, made an initial presentation. We've gone back and forth over several iterations of requests for funding. As you all know, it's been well documented, Mr. Galasso's efforts to secure additional funding at the state level in addition to this request of the local Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund. I'll say this. First off, I appreciate Mr. Galasso's persistence because I do think this is a really unique opportunity. We've talked about, just this evening, clearing fields that are currently undeveloped but full of trees and vegetation. This is an opportunity for us to repurpose an existing facility and turn it into over 60 units of affordable housing, 33 or 34 of which would be deed restricted. So I think this project, from my sense, is so important that it was the catalyst for additional conversations with Mr. Galasso. The last of which, and as you all know, the recommendation in your packet tonight was for a total of $3.4 million in funding, Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund through the CPC. Of that 3.4 million total allocation, 1.5 of that was going to be dedicated, allocated towards acquisition of the site, of the land. Based upon some new information, and you have in front of you at your desks a letter from Mr. Galasso, a memo to me dated today. We had an opportunity, we being the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund Working Group, this morning to meet with Mr. Galasso to discuss what I think is a pretty significant development. And I'll summarize and I'll turn it over to Mr. Galasso to go through some of the details, but this is important. The seller reduced the original asking price down to $3.2 million. It's my understanding the seller is going to receive a charitable tax deduction for the difference between the appraised value and this new reduced sale price. The seller will take out a note of $1 million, which would then be subordinated to the town's $2.1 million recommended funding level for the acquisition. Mr. Chairman and members of the Select Board, throughout all of these iterations and discussions with Mr. Galasso, and I'll say this, the concern has always been protecting the town, recognizing the importance of this project, protecting the town's investment in this project. So that being first in priority of any monies that were allocated for the acquisition was important to the Affordable Housing Fund Working Group. This development this morning places us in that first priority, first position. So I feel confident that it protects that investment, that interest, I should say, of the town's resources. And it allows the project, we hope, to move forward. So my recommendation, and then I'll stop talking and turn it over to Mr. Galasso, is to revise the original recommendation I'm making you tonight in your packets. 3.4 total allocation of you acting as trustees to the trust. 3.4 total allocation, 2.1 million of which would be allocated for land acquisition. So, Mr. Galasso, I tried to lay the stage for you, sir. It's been a long process. And again, we thank you for your persistence and your patience. So I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Thank you very much for that great summary of where we're at today. And I thank town staff for the persistence in working with us on this project. We've been here for a little bit over 3 years now, working on this project through numerous meetings that we've had with the Select Board, with the Working Group, ZBA, with the Planning Board, and we strongly support the recommendation of the Town Manager and the Working Group this evening. So I have a short presentation I can go through if you'd like, answer any questions that you have, but we've worked over the last 3 or 4 months with the sellers of the property, the Memories, who own the property of almost over 20 years, to come to where we're at this evening, which I think is a great solution and a great compromise on all parties to move this project forward. And their biggest concern was, we've had the property in escrow for, under a purchase and sale agreement for almost 5 years now. And they've been very patient with us. We've made a lot of progress on this project, putting together the financing. It's a $28 million project. We have roughly about $25 million of that together as of today, and with your recommendation. And we have an application that's due to the state on Thursday for another $1.7 million. That would, if we're successful with that application, which I believe that we will be because we're very competitive, then we will pretty much have all the funds together that we need to move this project forward and start construction hopefully sometime next year. So I can answer any questions you have. What you have in front of you is what's changed in this project since the last time I was here before the board. The Mr. Carter requirement is that we would need to have 7 units of affordable housing. We've always surpassed that. Last time we were here in our original application was for 30 affordable units, 8 of those at 80% of median income, 22 at 120%, and 37, those 37 at 140 are the ones that were allowed to rent at a minimum of a 6-month lease and then month-to-month after that. That's sort of for our temporary workers, for people who come to town that need a place to live. Maybe they're going to work for the police department, the fire department, M.G.L, and they need a temporary place. That's what those 37 units are. Since that time, we've heard from the Select Board that there's a need for more affordability in these projects. So in working with the Falmouth Housing Authority, which I'm a member of, we've made an application to get 7 project-based certificates for the project, which will allow us to rent 7 of the units at 50% of median income, and the rest of 27 of the 34 affordable units at 80%. So we've made some big strides, I think, in both raising the funds for the project and also the affordability. We've added a couple of new partners to our project, too. Our nonprofit co-developer is Bill Grogan. He's the president of the Planning Office of Urban Affairs. They've been around since 1969, and with his help is how we're able to structure the agreement that you have in front of you tonight, because he's a nonprofit, and that's how the seller will be able to get some credits for selling the property to us below appraised value. So that's been a partner. He's been very helpful in getting us to where we're at tonight. I mentioned the Mamre family and the help of Kevin Murphy and Pat Callahan, 2 local folks who have helped us very much in these negotiations with the Mamres. We had our local business gentlemen who have put in some initial funding for the project, the support of the M.G.L. in Hui, the Chamber of Commerce, Mike Kasparian, my assistant, Ann Pride, who's helped me research a lot of the grants that we needed to have. So we're here this evening to request your approval of the town manager's recommendation that would allow us to increase the funding from 2.4 to 3.4. That is still under your guidelines of $150,000 per unit. We're at $100,000 per unit. And permission to allow us to use $2.1 million of the 3.4 to move forward and acquire the site. So I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Galasso. I'm going to make a statement first. I was on the Affordable Housing Working Group. I have seen how diligent and persistent you have been in moving this forward, together with Kim Fish and Jed Cornock from the town staff with respect to responding to questions as they came up. There's been an awful lot of give and take. And I appreciate it. It's a testament to good collaboration between developers and the town, nonprofits to help us solve our housing crisis. I want to echo what Mr. Renshaw said. As a member of the committee or the working group, I was very concerned from the outset with respect to the town's security, with respect to the property. I pushed and asked for an analysis of what rights we might have with respect to securing it, and this modification that now puts the town in the first place with respect to the acquisition with $2.1 million is a major improvement from what the last iteration was. I do also want to mention that the CPC, in looking at this matter, recommended a 2.1 without the iteration that you've mentioned this evening, and recommended that the board consider acquisition funds of $2.1 million, even when the town would not be in first position. So I think this is a major improvement. I think the town's position is very well secured. The appraised value of the property is 4.2 or 4.3, and we would be advancing less than 50% towards the appraised value. So I'm in support of this application. We've gotten many letters and emails supporting it as well. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions. I'm sure there are some. So we'll start with Mr. Brown.
Just doing the math, it looks like so we're subsidizing at about $60,000 per unit for 34?
No, we're at $100,000 per unit for the 34 affordable units. The other 30.
But now we're only coming up with 2.1, is that right?
No.
The total commitment tonight would be 3.4.
Oh, okay.
Of that, 2.1 we're asking to be used that we can acquire the property with.
Oh, okay.
And the balance will come at construction financing.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's still well below our cap, so.
Yes, it is. Well, yeah.
Mr. Richards?
I just wanted to speak to the persistence. I checked my Senate email. I have 25 emails on this project, so I will, at 24, one of those was about getting Gary to basketball. But yeah, I think that, to speak to Mr. Renshaw's comments, I think that, we just had two conversations about, potential deforesting of properties, 0 West Falmouth Highway, that is probably the way we're going. These type of projects are the way that we solve this crisis on Cape Cod. It's in a central location in downtown, an existing building. I can't think of a better example of a project. So I'm certainly in favor of this.
At the risk of just piling on, also very much in favor, very much appreciate all the work that has gone into finding something that works for everyone. I feel like we are tiptoeing toward essentially a public-private partnership, right? And I love what you were saying, Mr. Renshaw, about recognizing the potential. You were very new in town, and this was already underway. And I guess I would just hope that moving forward, this board, our staff, our whole community can, if anything, be even more proactive so that it doesn't have to take the kind of persistence that this project has taken in order to move other projects like this forward that get us affordable housing that meet incredible needs in our community with redevelopment. It ticks all the boxes, and so I'm really thrilled that we can actually reach this point tonight, and if I'm reading this latest memo correctly, potentially close within 90 days?
That's our goal. I know that we have holidays and everything coming up, but I know that the sellers would like to close before the end of the year, but we actually have an extension if we need it beyond that, too. So I think we have adequate time to accomplish that.
Well, we could certainly ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to make a comment or have a question. Okay.
These are many of our supporters who've been here numerous times already, so I appreciate you giving them.
We know you packed the audience, Mr. Galas.
I strongly support this project. I'm a retired neuroscientist who used to be the director of education at the Marine Biological Laboratory. So I'm familiar with the challenges of research assistants, postdoctoral fellows, and graduate students at all 6 of our scientific institutions. And on top of that, since I've been retired, I've been making friends with more than 10 local servers and bartenders who live in Falmouth year-round, who also have challenges finding housing. And I talk to them every day because I lift weights with them. And there are some of these people who are sharing a house with 1 bathroom, and there are 6 of them living there because that's how tough it is to find housing in Falmouth. And the fact that there are also many people who need to find temporary housing so that, they come here and they have to, identify maybe more permanent housing, although that is also rare. So I very strongly support this project. I'm very happy to hear the support that I hear from you. And I think in all realms of people who support the economy of Falmouth, this is really, really important.
Thank you. Would you mind identifying yourself? Thank you.
My name is Ray Nishi.
Thank you.
And I'm a resident of Falmouth year-round.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name's Carter Hunt. I live in Linden Road here in Falmouth. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center. And we've had conversations with Michael about adding veterans to this equation, and I appreciate your support for this, and so will our veterans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Brown, do you have a motion? Yes.
Got one. I recommend that the Select Board, as trustees of the Falmouth Housing Fund, support this application with the following revised recommended motion. I move that the Select Board, acting as trustees of the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund, award $3.4 million to Bushwood 545 LLC for the creation of affordable housing at 545 Main Street to be awarded as a loan secured by 2 mortgages on the property, of which $2.1 million will be awarded for the acquisition of the property located at 545 Main Street, and $1.3 million for the construction of the 34 affordable deed-restricted rental units, with conditions to be further determined in the financial documentation, and to authorize the town manager to execute the documentation setting forth the terms of the financial award to Bushwood 545 LLC.
Second. I just
Sure
think
you don't
it's-
want to say anything about how important it is for young people such as yourself?
We need more housing for young people.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion amongst the members? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good.
Hey,
Finally.
You guys get to leave now. I liked how the motion was as long as possible, too. I saw everyone's trying to...
Okay, well, very good. Thank you very much. So we are actually still very close to being on time. So we're going to go to H, which is, we'll let everybody leave.
30 minutes to vote the articles?
Possibly not.
How about 3?
Try to not be as
We'll try it.
Take it.
Okay, we're going to vote the articles and execute the warrant for the November 17, 2025 town meeting. Mr. Renshaw, Mr. Peter Johnson-Staub.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're going to go through this. I'm going to approach it 30,000 foot, then we're going to drill down, but I hope to go through this in about 20 minutes and answer any questions you may have. So included in your packet, as you all know, the proposed town meeting warrant currently includes 26 articles. 9 of those are financial. There's 2 petition articles included in that 9. 5 of the proposed articles are zoning amendments. 2 are bylaw amendments. 3 authorize special acts to be submitted to the state legislature, and 4 are non-financial petition articles. One of the special act proposes change from an elected town clerk to an appointed town clerk. Change is supported by the current town clerk, Mr. Palmer. As the work of the town clerk has become more complex, we feel it's important to have a town clerk with professional experience in elections and the functions of town clerk's office. 3 of the articles address Cape Cod Country Club land transfer, related, as you all know, to the proposed solar development, Pure Sky, of which 2 of those articles are proposed by staff. One of those articles authorizes acceptance of the land itself, and one authorizes petition to the legislature seeking an exemption from current procurement laws to allow land to be accepted subject to a lease. What I'd like to do now, Mr. Chairman, is go through, and again, included in your packet is a copy of the warrant with proposed 26 articles. You'll note they don't include recommendations. That comes next meeting, October 14th. So this literally is the Select Board's mission tonight, is to vote the articles and execute the warrant. So with no further ado, what I'm going to do is go through each of the 26, answer any questions, and I'll try to get consensus. If there's any desire to not include a particular article on the warrant, let me know that as I go through. Article 1, as you all know, is just choosing necessary town officials for the upcoming year. Article 2 is always that hearing of reports from committees and other town officers. Article 3 is to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the purpose of funding capital improvements, to determine how the same shall be raised and by whom expended. So that's the capital funding piece. That requires a simple majority of town meeting vote. Article 4 is to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the purpose of funding capital improvements to determine the same shall be raised and by whom appropriated. This requires a 2/3 town meeting vote. Article 5 is to appropriate a sum of money for the purpose of providing non-capital projects to determine how the same shall be raised and by whom expended. These, as you all recall, are non-capital projects that come up through the year. Article 6 is to seek approval for a vote to appropriate a sum of money from free cash to supplement the FY26 budget, determine how the same should be raised and by whom expended. Article 7 is transfer a sum of money from the fiscal year 2026 budget to make necessary adjustments throughout the year. Article 8 is to see if the town will appropriate $1 million. This is kind of a replenishment of the Special Education Stabilization Fund in the amount of $1 million. Article 9, as you all know, is seeking town vote to amend the Code of Falmouth by deleting Chapter 150, noise, in its entirety, and then replacing the said chapter with a new Chapter 150, noise control. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'm going to stop here because included in your packet is a copy of a redlined version of the proposed noise bylaw update. As you all recall, 3 weeks ago, we had a community forum over the Gus Canty Rec Center. Received a lot of public input, good public input from that group. And I don't know how many folks attended that meeting, but it was a lot. The room was full. Subsequent to that meeting, we were continuing to receive input from members of the community, members of the select board. So the version, my point is, the version that you currently have, the red line version, incorporates, I feel comfortable saying, most, if not all, of those comments that were heard. It addresses a lot of concerns about types of noise. A lot of concerns that we heard in the community forum a few weeks ago were related to the existence. What are we going to do? How do we handle and address courts that have already been permitted in private property? So as you can see in the red line version that has been produced by town council, it addresses a lot of those concerns. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm a huge proponent and believer that in order to move forward with a new pickleball facility, it's going to be important for the town to have some protection, some assurance. I feel comfortable that a noise bylaw is going to be an important piece of that, establishing that community standard and threshold that everybody in the community feels comfortable with. So obviously a section of this noise bylaw update includes, specifically addresses pickleball. There's other elements, obviously, that it touches upon. I feel, in general, that this red line version of the noise bylaw before you tonight for consideration of inclusion in the warrant is a huge improvement over the current noise bylaw, which I think was adopted in the mid-'70s. It's difficult for us to enforce. It's not objective. It's really not measurable. This bylaw makes it much more objective and, in my opinion, easier to enforce. So with that, I'd like to stop there, as I said before, and answer any questions you have specific to this proposed Article 9, the noise bylaw.
Anyone have any questions?
I'm not sure I have questions. I guess I would say I agree with the vast majority of the town manager's comments. Our current noise bylaw is woefully out of date and out of step with our community. And I very much appreciate the efforts of staff and the working group to both expedite the drafting of the bylaw in the wake of delays of the noise study, and to then, in a very expedited way, to integrate extensive feedback into the red line copy that we have right now. And I very much understand the need for a regulatory or other framework within which to move forward with any pickleball development. But as I've shared with town manager and assistant town manager previously, I continue to have really fundamental concerns both about the approach of the current bylaw or draft proposed bylaw, as well as some of the details in it, and just don't feel like to put it onto the warrant at this point as being at the request of the select board would be authentic. I don't feel ready to move forward with the noise bylaw as currently drafted.
Okay, anyone else? Questions, comments?
What would you change in it?
So I'll say, for one, I feel very uncomfortable with the idea of crafting a broad noise bylaw and singling out one very specific activity within it. I understand that pickleball is a different kind of sound from either atonal general noise and tonal sound, which the state already sets different standards for those. One of my other concerns with the current draft is that the state standard is different from the standard that we're adopting in this bylaw, and ours is more lenient at 5 dB above background as opposed to 3 dB above background for tonal. And I would feel much more comfortable with understanding, okay, if what's different about pickleball is that it's impulsive sound, maybe we need a standard for impulsive sound, but not specifically pickleball. And otherwise, if what's needed for pickleball is a series of looking at it as more of a land use, this is a specific land use and activity type, and we need some ground rules around this land use and activity type doing that, but not specifically as a noise bylaw.
Okay, Mr. Richardson.
I was very eloquently put, and I land there for the same reason. And then for I do appreciate the red line strikeout version is a significant step in the right direction. I was particularly fond of the change of the enforcement from the police and health department. I think and open to hear what you guys think on this, but I think in terms of how does this change if we wait until, whether we want to bring this up again for the next town meeting, I don't think the amount of pickleball will substantially increase in the next 6 months until the next meeting. In terms of why I think that more time is needed. I didn't attend the community forum. Shuts out the enterprise. It was a good article on it, from what I've heard. I'm not prepared to approve this one either at this time.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and also I think just maybe Mr. Johnson-Staub wants to talk about the exigencies of the funding and so forth, but as I understand it, as a practical matter, given the timing of requests and so forth, that if we don't do anything at this meeting and actually do something in April, after some more reflection and comments and iterations and so forth, that the actual construction won't be really delayed as a result of having this on April's town meeting. Is that correct?
So essentially that is correct. So the timing issues here are that, first, just to reiterate what the town manager said, we certainly feel strongly that it would be irresponsible to construct a new pickleball facility without a noise bylaw in place that we know the pickleball will survive, so that we don't have another new pickleball shut down, new pickleball court. But with respect to the timeline, we have always contemplated using community preservation funds, applying for community preservation funds for construction. We have used town general funds for the design of these facilities, and recently received word that a small additional amount that we will need for design would be contributed by a nonprofit donation. So the cycle for community preservation funding for a project like this would start with an application in August. August of next year would be the earliest. So if we have a bylaw in place in April, we would be able to submit an application in August.
We'll get to you in a second.
Can I ask, was the 5 dB used specifically because we felt like that would be leverage to allow the pickleball? Are we getting to that?
So we had actually two acoustical sound engineering firms conduct two separate studies, the last of which we incorporated into this recommended bylaw update. 57 was the original. We've changed that, upped it to 60 dB. What they did, and I'm going to Peter can probably speak better to this than I can right now. They looked at alternate sites, Trotting Park being one of those, and then two additional sites. And we asked the acoustical engineer to measure at various distances from the property line to the courts, property line of existing homes, what the decibel readings would be. So they kind of simulated that. They measured at Nye Park. They looked specifically at Nye Park and took actual measurements of pickleball games as they were being played to try to use that as kind of a metric as well. So it's 60 dBs is the current proposed bylaw stands now, would be that threshold. I mentioned earlier when I first started the conversation about my feeling that it's important to establish a community standard. Other communities that I've managed in, also struggle. This is not unique, citing a pickleball facility, especially multiple courts. When I was out in Colorado, it was a huge issue as well, and in other places as well. So it's important, again, to establish that. What is that community standard? What is everybody comfortable with not everybody, what are the majority of the Falmouth community comfortable with in terms of that very unique noise that's produced by the sport of pickleball? And again, based upon the results of the acoustical engineer's study, we came up with that 60 dB. And then compared it, for those of you who attended the community meeting, compare that to other different sounds, right, that are more common to folks, like a car passing by a roadway within 100 feet. So we felt pretty good.
But the number I was referring, I believe Ms. Goldstone was referring to the relative background noise, and that was...
The tonal sound relative to background.
Okay.
The DEP state standard is 3 dB above background. So ours would be more lenient than the state standard.
And that was really key in the development of the standards for wind turbines, because we found that the background noise was a very significant factor in considering total noise. Like, say, if you're next to a highway, your background noise is so loud that pickleball doesn't matter. But if you're out in the woods in Trotting Park, it's a big factor, because it's pretty quiet out there unless kids are playing baseball or something. So.
Mr. Richardson? I'm sorry, Mr. Reed.
I would like to echo Ms. Goldstone's statements. Bylaws, I believe, best practices are meant to be high level and not necessarily single activities. In the 70s, when this was created, we didn't single out the conversion of wooden baseball bats to metal ones, and I'm sure the community hated that at the same time. This is a very important issue that we need to get right. This is based on what we're hearing. This is not an urgent issue, and that's my matrix that I typically use, is importance and urgency. I think it is extremely important for us to get this right. I think the urgency allows us more time. It's less urgent, and that gives us more time to actually plan it out and work on other measures. Perhaps there's a different vehicle that we can use or mechanism than a bylaw to set a community standard. Perhaps there's other ways we can build in noise mitigation factors around the existing plans. I mean, as an example, if the Cape Cod golf course comes to fruition, it was noted that we have 5,000 truckloads of earth that has to be moved somewhere. Could that be noise mitigation to create a burn? Is that better used somewhere else, like coastal resiliency? But I think we have to get this right, and time will help us do that by the April meeting.
I know that we have a representative of the Pickleball Working Group here that might like to say something. Ms. Schneider?
So, first, I have to say this. So, as one of the original members of community preservation, we never say we want to use CPC funds. We say we would ask for CPC funds because it's supposed to be an autonomous fund. And so I apologize to Sandy that there was any statement made that makes it sound like it's a given. The goal that those of us working toward getting a facility in Falmouth so that people are not going and signing up for the new club pickleball in Mashpee, and they can actually play here as part of what their taxes provide, is that we would have this sound bylaw and be able to go and ask community preservation for a year from now's round of money if they could help fund that. So that was a goal. And if we were to go forward, and it sounds very much like we shouldn't have had this discussion tonight and we should have just waited and worked on this and gone forward for April town meeting, it would be that the town manager's office would have RFPs ready right away the day after town meeting, ready to go, so we could put out RFPs if the sound bylaw were to pass town meeting and get going on a design that could go forward in time for an application to the CPC. That's the tightness that this would be. Totally sounds like that's where we are, and that's what we would need to do. I want you all to understand that the pickleball working group, 4 out of the 5 are in support of what this redlined draft looks like and think it's fair and doable and something that can work. I would say the one who's not would rather see that we have no rules at all. And that's some people's opinion. That is definitely an opinion. But we don't find that's going to happen. What is happening is that the actual world is working on quieting pickleball as every day. Companies get it, and the U.S. Pickleball gets it, and they were very interested, in fact, in what we came up with our sound studies and with what we're proposing for a sound bylaw, because they are running into this all over the place. And while you think that pickleball being named might be wrong, I can tell you I think you're going to see it more and more. We as Falmouthites just happen to get into these debates earlier than some. So I want you to know that it looks good the way it is for the most part. If it needs education, tweaking, talking about it more, great. We'll do all we can as a pickleball working group to help with that. But I did want you to know that we would beg the CPC to help us build pickleball courts and not just say we want to use that money. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And I think that is a really good point in terms of, like, I was reading the innovations they're trying to do to make it quieter. So hopefully the geniuses, the engineers, whatever, can figure out, a way to make the sport actually, because it's a fairly young sport is what people, fail to realize. So maybe something happens in 6 months' time that makes this conversation, less relevant, hopefully.
And we'll have to incentivize people to turn in their old rackets.
I'm okay with that. If that's what it comes to. I'm more than happy. And then a procedural question, Mr. Chair. Do we say no on each individual article, or do we do this like the whole thing and then go back?
So what I'm going to suggest is I was trying to get consensus on 9, and it appears to me that the consensus of the board is to hold Article 9 as is currently proposed. Article 10 is, I think, a companion, if that's the term, in terms of a penalty. So based upon the consensus I'm hearing, my recommendation would be we'll go through the rest of the articles, and then I would ask the select board to vote the articles and execute the warrant, removing Articles 9 and 10, and then allowing staff to renumber the articles, taking those Articles 9 and 10 out.
In an effort for efficiency, is it possible to assume that all have been read there afterwards, and we can just call out any ones we have so as to not review them all? And if there aren't any, we can proceed to vote to approve? Or is it mandatory that we go through each one?
I'd prefer that the town manager go through them as quickly as he has been doing it up to this point.
We're getting to the point now where we've got several petition articles, and then Jed's helped me out. Jed Cornite, the town planner, community development director, has helped out with drafting some of the recommendations, which you're not approving tonight, but some of the verbiage with regards to the planning. So let me run through these quickly, if you all don't mind. Yeah. And then, like I said, I'll ask for a vote with the exception of removing Articles 9 and 10. So with that being said, Article 11 is the police station funding article for costs related to design, engineering, and permitting of systems and improvements. So that is Article 11. That would require a 2/3 town meeting vote. Article 12 is a vote to authorize Select Board to petition General Court of the Commonwealth to enact special legislation to allow the town to expend a sum of money to reimburse certain property owners in the future town sewer service area costs associated with the purchase and installation of low-pressure grinder pumps. This is the grinder pump special legislation that would be requested. Article 13, to see if town would vote to authorize the Select Board to petition the General Court of the Commonwealth to enact special legislation to amend the charter. Again, as I mentioned, to change the position of town clerk from an elected to an appointed position. Article 14.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Yes.
Town Manager, question regarding Article 11, based on the previous conversations and moving this to vote next week. What happens to Article 11 regarding the design costs of the police station?
So, yeah, go ahead.
Nothing. So the decision tonight is, do you want to move forward with design for a new police station at the funding design for the new police station in November? And we need that vote tonight, not next week. And then next meeting, I should say, you will potentially be voting a recommendation as to the specific site where that new station will be. There isn't a legal requirement that the vote is not specific to the site. The town meeting action is just design funds.
It's just for the town meeting voters.
It's right. It's just for the purposes of having a good being able to provide a good presentation and explanation. What are we doing here? We want to be able to say in writing that we've selected.
Great. Thank you for the clarification.
So, Peter, could you do me a favor? Could you address Article 14? I think you can speak to that a little bit better with regards to the solar. Article 14.
I might keep passing that baton down the row here.
I'm happy to talk about it.
Council.
So Article 14 and 15 are both about the proposed ground-mounted solar array to go at the Cape Cod Country Club. Article 14 will have a town meeting vote to authorize the select board to accept the donated land, and it is these various parcels that are listed out here, totaling approximately 139.43 acres in total. What this also does is it not only allows the select board and the town to accept the land, but it also authorizes the select board to enter into certain leases for the construction and operation of the solar facilities, to enter into a pilot agreement for tax purposes, for the decommissioning agreement of the solar facility, and to negotiate and enter into power purchase agreements, any interconnection agreements, easements. It's really getting all of the permissions that are required for the land use part of it, because it's such a, because town meeting is required for any kind of easement or disposition of property, but also because of the length of some of these that you'll need to lay all of that out. So that is Article 14. It's the land use, accept the donation, and permission to enter into all the agreements. Article 15, the purpose of that is because it's really a timing issue. What is being proposed from Pure Sky is they really wanted the town to accept the land donation subject to the lease and subject to the leases and all of these agreements. That posed a little bit of a procurement problem for me. It doesn't quite jibe as far as I'm concerned that the town would accept the land subject to the leases. So what this does is it does it the other way. It allows us to take control of the land and then immediately start negotiations back with the company to enter into all these agreements. That still poses a procurement problem that's not really allowed. We would have had to bid it, but a way to streamline this is just to ask the general court, ask the state legislature, knowing that this is a holistic deal. It has a bunch of moving pieces and parts, and that we have every intention of having Pure Sky as the partner for this whole deal. And we'll ask permission, I don't see any issue with it being granted, to be able to accept the land and then turn right back around and start negotiating all these agreements with the same partner. without having to go through the procurement. So that's Article 15.
So are 14 and 15 an either or, and we have to make a decision?
No, it's just, they work together. They work in concert. If 14 doesn't work, like if town meeting doesn't
That's
vote
right.
for 14, there's no reason to have 15. We do need both.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
How much ability do we have to modify the project going forward? Because they came to us a few years ago and told us what they imagined, and they went to the Cape Cod Commission, and we haven't seen them since. So I'm curious if there's opportunities to, for instance, reduce the amount of fence. Do we really have to have all that fence? I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for the panels to be more elevated so that they don't need the fence. Maybe the place could be walkable, could be a nicer project. I wonder how much ability we have still to discuss those potential opportunities.
I think there's room. You'll see the way that these articles are written, it's authorizing the town manager to negotiate the lease and the power purchase agreements, as long as it doesn't impact the operations of the ground-mounted solar array. I think there's some wiggle room. I don't know how much, but certainly what all that these two articles do is it allows us to sit down at a table. So we can always bring all of your concerns up to the table and see what happens.
I guess my question is, if the town votes Article 14 and 15, and we don't get the legislative approval, then what happens?
Well, then we'd have to talk about procurement and how to go about doing that. It's not, it wouldn't make the project undoable. It would just make my life a little bit harder. And who cares about that? No one cares.
We don't want that to happen. Okay. All right, back to you, Mr. Unless there are any other questions?
I have a question about the order of the articles, because if somebody makes a motion to take 16 out of order, it preempts all of this. I guess that's just something we'll have to wait to see, right?
Hope that person doesn't do it.
They have to be approved by town meeting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Article 16, so 16 through 21 are all petition articles.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is, so Article 16 seeks to amend the official zoning map, in effect taking out the parcels that Article 14 discussed in terms of accepting those for the lease. So that would have the effect of amending the official zoning map, removing those parcels from the large-scale ground-mounted solar overlay district. Article 17 seeks to authorize and direct Select Board or another appropriate authority to commission an independent financial and operational audit of Falmouth Public Schools. Article 18, you have a copy of a letter from one of the petitioners, Ms. Raquel Russell, with regards to Article 18. And as you see from the letter dated September 23rd, Ms. Russell is requesting that she's indicating a withdrawal of this article from consideration, discussing this with town council. This needs to stay on the warrant, so we're going to keep it on the warrant, and then we'll take action on town meeting floor on November 17th.
And we are not allowed to remove petition articles.
That's my understanding.
That's right.
Okay. But can the petitioner recommend indefinite postponement herself? Or would that be on the floor?
It would be on the floor, but I believe that this will all be communicated to the FinCom as well, and I don't see any recommendation except indefinite postponement coming in connection with this article. But then on the floor, there would also, there could be a withdrawal.
Or
I mean,
it would have to be a positive motion then?
It could be taken care of on the blanket vote. That's how I'm thinking it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions on, that was 18? Article 19 seeks a vote to authorize Select Board to grant a conservation restriction, restricting in perpetuity in accordance with M.G.L. 40, Chapter 40, specific parcel identified as 0 West Falmouth Highway, placing it in conservation restriction.
I do have a question on that one, sorry. So the 300 committee came out against this, but they're on the article. How does that work?
It's my understanding, well, go ahead, Peter. There was not conversation, is my understanding, between the petitioner and the 300 committee, in essence.
Yeah, the petitioner just, I think, made an assumption that that would be the right group to name.
Right.
So why does that make it an approvable warrant if it's not factually correct, or?
You can petition anything you want at town meeting.
Okay.
So, essentially the answer is, it's a petition article, it's going on the warrant, and that's an issue that.
So the 300 committee, so it's a political discussion of how do we kill this?
No.
Right, and so this board's going to vote a
Not us,
recommendation.
I'm saying the person, like, who would be against it.
He might offer an amendment on the floor with different language, or strike the language, or whatever.
So
It's in the hand.
the select board will be voting a recommendation on this article, so that's an issue that you'll consider in coming up with your recommendation.
Thank you.
And the same to be said for Article 20, referencing the same parcel 0 West Falmouth Highway. Article 21 is to amend the zoning bylaw by authorizing construction of house-scale multifamily dwellings containing up to 5 dwelling units by right in areas within 1/4 mile of business redevelopment districts. Any questions on that particular petition article? The remaining articles, 22 through 26, as currently enumerated, are zoning articles. Article 22 seeks to amend the current prohibited uses and special permit allowance section of the zoning bylaw by deleting the option for an applicant to seek a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a use that is not listed in the zoning districts.
Could you mind if I went back to 21?
Not at all.
I had the proponent of 21 asked for my thoughts on 21, and I just said I thought it was going to be impossible to hook these up to sewer connections because the sewer planned areas can't be changed once I mean, it's a very big deal to change those. Did I speak out of turn? That's correct, right?
So, yeah, I think you're absolutely correct that it is very difficult for us to modify sewer service areas. There are 2 ways to do it. One is to adopt a section of the general law, local option, and the other is to just seek DEP approval to change the sewer service area. But either way, as you're well aware, we have limited discharge capacity and limited treatment capacity. So we can't just decide that we're going to have a larger sewer area, unless we have addressed those capacity issues.
Right. Okay, thank you.
It's a discussion for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Article 23, as proposed by the Planning Board, seeks to amend the current business district use table to ensure compliance with Affordable Homes Act and the regulations issued by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities concerning the protected use accessory dwelling units. Article 24, as proposed by the Planning Board, seeks to amend the current accessory dwelling unit bylaw to comply with requirements of the regulations issued by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. And Article 25 seeks to amend the current maximum building height and stories table in Section 240-11.5A of the zoning bylaw in order to clarify certain height requirements by removing information that is unnecessary and potentially very confusing. And lastly, Article 26, as proposed, seeks to amend the current accessory structure height limitation language to comply with the requirements of the regulations issued by the EOHLC concerning protected use accessory dwelling units. And I have, again, the Town Planner, Community Services Director, Community Development Director here to answer any questions on those several zoning articles, if there's any questions that I can't answer. But with that, Mr. Chair, if there are no questions regarding the zoning-related articles, what I would recommend is that the Select Board consider voting the articles and executing the warrant as presented, removing Articles 9 and 10, related again to the noise bylaw, and directing staff to renumber those articles.
So moved.
Okay, there is a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, moving on to the minutes.
Thank you for hanging in.
Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
I have one question, or comment, I should say, or two comments, on the joint meeting with the planning board.
Yep.
There was two comments that I made. I feel like I would like to have them included in this. One was, I proposed that we consider a sunset of 3 years on irrigation systems on municipal water. I think that should be in the record. I think that's something that we should be thinking about going forward. We talked about it. I'd like to have that included. The other one was on tiny homes. I recommended that the planning board might consider changing zoning in some areas that might have 2-acre zoning to allow for subdividing those lots to allow tiny homes to be integrated throughout those areas. And
this is the meeting, which meeting, Mr. Brown?
the joint planning board meeting.
September 20.
Just what date?
September 20.
September 20.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
8th.
September 8th, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay. No problems.
Do we want to hold those for you
Yeah,
to
I
send
think
in
maybe
your?
we should just hold them and you make whatever comments.
Well, I mean, it's
So we know
simple.
exactly what, I mean, there's no harm in holding it and just making sure we capture what it is you think it should say.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's taking notes or, I mean, I want it to be, I want you to be
Somebody's
comfortable.
out there taking notes. Somebody's taking minutes.
Yeah.
I don't have to have exactly the perfect wording, but it's just that I mentioned that we should consider sunsetting in 3 years using municipal water for irrigation systems. That's just a simple comment. And the other one was that I hope the planning board would consider offering people with, if it's 2-acre zoning, maybe they could offer them something less to accommodate the tiny homes widespread throughout the community. It doesn't have to be perfect, but not like we voted it or anything. It's just that those are comments I made that I felt like they were important, and I like to be
Just want to make
reflected.
sure that they're in there, that's
So,
all.
Mr. Chair, I can't, so someone is watching. I've taken notes, but somebody in
Yeah.
our office does watch, goes back and watches this, so they can incorporate those changes if the
Okay.
board is comfortable us making those changes.
I would move approval of the minutes of 11/18/2024, 12/16/2024, 9/8/2025, with the amendments noted by Member Brown, and 9/20/2025.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Renshaw?
Just one quick update, Mr. Chair. I think you've all heard me talking about the digital implementation grant that we applied for through the Massachusetts Broadband Institute. Just today, I got the official notification that the town was awarded $84,954. And what the group plans to do is, through an RFP process that's currently underway, is hire a consultant to implement a digital navigator program, which will help folks that either don't have access, don't have the skill set to access the internet and participate fully and engage fully with that technology. So we're really excited about that formal announcement. October 14th meeting, I'll be bringing a request for the select board to accept those grant funds, and then we'll move forward. And that's all I have.
Excellent. Good job.
Any reports?
Short-term rental committee has pretty much assembled our thoughts on paper, and our member Tom Crane is going to try to put them into a cohesive, something that we can present to the town council to put it into proper form. So
And then what?
we're going to have a forum. We want to have a public forum before we bring it to the select board, so that we can get any public comments that we might find relative before the board's asked to support it.
Okay.
And I think we're going to be ready for April Springtown meeting.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else?
Mine ties into future agenda items, if that's fine, unless anyone else has any reports.
No reports? Go ahead.
So I I was at an event with the Mashpee Chamber of Commerce in my day job, and every member of the Mashpee Select Board was there. For the record, I spoke with them individually. They did not deliberate as a group. save the folks in Mashpee any headaches. And they all talked about how successful and how much money they've been able to raise already through implementing their residential tax exemption. I just want to know the status update on getting that on the agenda. Residential tax exemption.
So we actually plan to bring that to the select board at the next meeting on the 14th. That's the current plan.
Great
We wanted
status
to
update.
allow the new assessor to kind of get in, Melissa to get in situated, but that's the plan right now. And with that, in conjunction with kind of the thematic approach, we also want to have the select board discuss and consider, identify what resources and whatnot, and the potential benefits of a water infrastructure improvement fund, or a WIF. So I think we're going to try to combine both of those discussions.
Because they've indexed theirs to that specifically.
Okay.
And they've said it's been very
That's what I've
successful.
heard other communities do as well.
Yeah. And then I just got a community, it's on the future agenda items, a community member asked me to ask it, update on the ICE and immigration forum, scheduling that.
Yeah, so I think, so unfortunately, I don't have a lot of details. I think we were looking to an October date, which is like here. So, yeah, September got away from me a bit. So we're looking at trying to, the venue I think is going to likely be the senior center, because I think it holds quite a few people. So yeah, we'll select a date. I'll consult with the chair and vice chair, take a look at some dates in October.
All right, I'll hold. I think the rest of the items are important, but I'll hold for now.
I'll add a couple of well, I guess 3. I'll give you my top 3 new agenda items. Multiple of us have been approached by multiple different individuals, very enthusiastic about the town being involved in some way in a civic academy to increase understanding of how our town government works and how people can get involved. So would love to have some of those folks come and share what they've learned from other towns and be able to have a discussion about that. Mentioned it earlier tonight, but would love to get a formal presentation of the parking study that was done and completed last year. I don't think that actually ever came to the select board, and it really does have some very interesting ideas about our downtown. And then I would say sparked by seeing 2 parcels that, while they are not formally conservation land, really lived in my mind as conservation parcels, be potential development sites for the police station. Made me think that it would be worth reviewing our holdings, and also knowing that it's come up multiple times in affordable housing conversations, actually, that Falmouth is lagging behind other towns in conservation land. And I wonder if a lot of that is just that we haven't officially designated a lot of the land that we hold in open space and are essentially conserving, and maybe having a conversation about whether some of that land should actually be formally conserved.
So like the housing coordinator, but
I think I've seen some social media posts about that, and, I think some of those are misleading, because some towns just have, by luck, they're connected to the military reservation or other
Like I
state
said,
forests.
I'm not convinced we're necessarily, and I don't want to get into deliberation. I just think it would be worth looking at the land, and I'm sure that our community development director, who just left, very deservedly, probably has this sitting in his office, right? But the land that we hold, and how much of that is formally conserved, how much of that is kind of open space, just to have a better sense of that.
Right.
And to think about, because like you said, I think we have a lot of open space and green space land that may not actually, when you go and look at the GIS map, doesn't show up as green conservation land.
Because we want to keep our options open, right?
I'd like to have some kind of a report on the progress or lack thereof of the housing plans for Joint Base Cape Cod, and what's been going on, if anything, and where we are in that process.
I might have a state update, Mr. Chair, eventually on that one. Our office has been engaged recently on that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no.
The master planning process?
Yes. All right.
And then eventually, not urgent, but I would like to discuss the retail cannabis dispensary license at some point in the near-ish future. I understand we have a lot of issues, but I do think this is an important thing and would bring a lot of money to our community.
Okay.
And with that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, it's Brendan from Crane Appliance. Since 1983, our goal as a family-owned company has been simple: to give our neighbors on the Cape and Islands a great shopping experience. Rest easy knowing our professional team will listen to your needs and help you pick the perfect appliances for your home. At Crane Appliance, we know how difficult appliance shopping can be. Our team is here for you. Crane Appliance, we call the Cape and Islands home.
Carlson Printing, 508-548-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing, for all your printing needs. John's Liquor Store, 729 Main Street, Falmouth, 508-548-2287.